Ooh, there we go. Hmm. Where you guys at? Alright, Josh will be here shortly. Where's the Jeremy? Hello.
Hello.
Ah!
Because I'm a hip hop
Hip hop.
hippopotamus.
Hip hoppity. Don't stop. Dup, something, something. Yeah. Words.
Right. Itch my nose. Hope we're not streaming.
Yeah, we totally are.
Oh, shoot.
Streaming and recording. Multiple places. There's backups.
Jeremy here?
No, you beat him.
Wow.
I know. I publicly mocked him on the IRC for this. I can try calling him. Damn right, can't stop, won't stop.
Hello, camera?
Ooh, I hear Jeremy.
My head is chopped.
Aw, that's so good.
What the hell are you doing?
Oh, you need the little thingy running. Oh wait, that's already running. Yeah.
Why you not send video?
That is not the right button.
That's quite the noise.
Hip hop, hip hop, hip.
I mean, it's showing me return video, but it's not
Hello, computer.
showing it on you.
Hello.
This is strange. Perhaps I unplug it and plug it back in again.
Oh. No.
How about now?
Nope.
The hell?
Jeremy, did you try taking the lens cap off?
Oh no, I'm getting return video. So first broadcast on my new computer. Here, let me try hanging up or getting ready to Skype and try it again.
Huh.
Jeremy built a new computer.
Ooh, Microsoft continues to support Skype Classic after negative feedback.
I thought that was already a thing that happened.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, I think, on the after show. No, we talked about it on Twitch.
Oh.
Yeah, because one of the guys updated Skype on the switcher, I think, and it all went to shit.
Yeah. They initially tried to argue that, like, oh yeah, all the same functionalities in the other thing. And it was like, no, it's not.
Huh. My Skype client's gone a little bit stupid here.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he hung up, but all I got is a blank screen. There's probably dialogue hiding somewhere or something stupid.
Skype is unfortunately a necessary evil.
yep.
Tried going back to that Vocal Tech internet phone. It just didn't work out.
Oh, that's keyboard. Oh, what the hell? I can't log in. Oh. I'm already logged in. Oh. I'm gonna take this keyboard and shoot it with a shotgun. Hello?
That looks.
Whoa, I
The
have
same.
Skype 3 and 4?
Ah, there we go.
That's not
Sort
right.
of.
Hey,
Wow, that's very red.
It
I'm
sure
drinking
is.
a Odell's
Go away, Otto.
Marzen.
Just look at that saturation.
How about that?
Do 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 do.
Gain, I don't think you need to be at 100 frickin' percent.
Well, it could.
It was.
Because it's once. Tice. Be times awaited.
I thought it was 3 shots of bourbon.
Nope. What do I want? There's a pick.
I do not know.
My pick almost killed me last week.
Oh, that's right. I remember what it was.
Your pick almost killed you, huh?
Yep. It almost put me into a telephone pole at 60 mile an hour.
Oh, yeah.
In a fiberglass husk. Let's mat it in 3rd gear and see what. Oh shit! Let's not do that again. I need to change my pants.
Now, how do I turn off
We'll
the
see
damn
if
joy
anybody
notifications on
recognizes
this thing?
one.
Okay.
What?
Oh?
Oh, and I changed your monitor, Bowen. I switched it back to the 4-shot.
Hmm.
So you don't have a straight.
Nice.
No, the one right up here.
Oh.
The one you never look at.
Well, I see. I just wasn't sure which one was the live shot.
Live shot preview, and
Oh,
then 2 Skypes at the bottom.
The live shot's always the upper right?
I think so.
Or does it just switch colors?
Jeremy's live.
Oh, okay.
Am I?
So it's always the upper right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is that in the foreground of the shot there, Jeremy? Yeah.
That?
Yeah.
That's a wall.
No.
I don't know why it's. Oh, I know why.
Okay.
Let us tighten up the shot a bit.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Yay.
Chat's asking, where are the benchmarks? Well,
Where's the silicon?
yeah, you gotta have a card.
Yeah, well, it helps.
Looking around me and I see no 20XX anythings.
We should have got a Quadro, took a piece of cardboard and wrapped it around it, and put 2080 Ti.
Yeah, Sharpie.
Sharpie. Put some racing stripes and RGBs on it.
Recreate that that shot from the Intel GPU thing.
Yeah, where it's sitting on the
And
pedestal.
Just take that picture and then write 20. 2080 on the card.
New leak shots, the new 3080.
Yeah, just changed like Photoshop tint the blue to green, right? Okay, chat, get on that. I know.
Make it so.
Make it so.
Make it so.
I know you guys rock at that shit. Just take that screenshot from the Intel thing and make it NVIDIA-like.
NVIDIA like was shiny, and did we all polish our foreheads and
That fake CGI GPU that doesn't even have the key on the PCI slot or the PCI pins.
oh, where is it? We have to show that picture.
Oh, it's not hard to find because it's all over the damn place. Just look up like new Intel GPU, like Google image search.
No, not that one.
Oh.
Let me put it in the show notes here. At the very bottom there. If you missed the previews.
Oh, that one's
Yep.
Was the RTX on what he actually looked like? I guess probably.
No, I don't know.
Because it looks like they
It looks
tried
like
to.
both sides are chopped a little bit.
Well, it looks like they tried to Photoshop to make it dull on the left side, but didn't go all the way to the very top. Because the very top, it's like crazy reflection. What did he take a freaking polisher to that thing?
Is there a problem with that?
Skin doesn't do. Josh, your skin doesn't even do that. At least yours is like a little bit, you know.
Dude, if I had some wax,
Yeah, but you don't. That guy did.
I guess I should go get some wax.
wax on, wax off.
I mean, look how shiny that is.
That's not as shiny as that dude.
That's true.
That's because he's
Doesn't look
not
like
ray
I'm covered in
traced.
oil, but yet.
Yeah.
We're just gonna slip that in. Slide it right on in.
Oh, I know what to, hold on. I gotta type my picket in here. Or at least try to.
I've got isopropyl alcohol within arm's reach, but I don't have any wax.
Well, wasn't the alcohol dull it?
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't
it's
want
to
to
remove it.
Okay. Need like some powder?
No.
Makeup.
Oh, I need to have a chat with Amazon.
Oh.
I ordered a printer like a week or two ago, and
Why?
because I got tired of inkjet, just hell.
Hell.
Well, okay.
My wife's working on her PhD, which means she's printing like ad nauseum.
Ah,
Like
there we go.
You know, reasonably heavy duty printing going on in my house, and you know, we just needed to step up to something that doesn't clog, basically. But
It's a printer. It will find a way to clog.
but when I went to look it up in the show notes, for the show notes, it's $30 cheaper than when I ordered it, which is very recently. So I can probably chat them and get them to give me some money. Why is this laptop not appending the It's not appending the offer, the PC per code thingy.
They killed that add-in.
I thought there was
The
another
affiliate Fox. I keep looking for it. Don't find it.
one.
And remembering to put it in is fun.
Well, I'll just put the shortcut in there for now.
But I gotta tell you, having a real CPU is something else.
What'd you have
Love
before?
my
What did you have before?
i7 920. A good CPU.
Hey, listen.
Just
uh,
a little
You're
long
preaching to
in
the
the
choir.
teeth.
You're preaching to the choir, but the thing is, I upgraded mine like 2 years ago, And I was the one that was like the laggard already.
Oh, well, we didn't have Threadripper 2 years ago.
Well,
That's what it took for me to say, you know what? That's it. I got to do it. This is too much fun. And it happened. Although the motherboard's still mad about something. Runs Fallout for more than 3 or 4 hours. I get an ACPI 15 error that doesn't have any more info. So,
what is this
Screw
on a Threadripper?
1900X.
That's weird.
I have a feeling it's the motherboard.
You know,
That's
I don't know, man. Like we had weird issues when I was trying to do the their RAID testing on their platform.
Did you ever get that sorted out?
No, it was never sorted out. We tested it on multiple boards, multiple different brand motherboards, and basically we would get the RAID going, and it would start going ludicrous speed or whatever.
Ludicrous speed.
It scaled well, everything until we did like any kind of write to the array, and then something funky in the background would do some kind of weird timeout thing, and then the performance of the array would drop to like
Ooh.
it would drop to like 2 gig per second or something, like regardless of what was going on, and it would not come back until you rebooted the box. And I was able to replicate it so consistently that all it took was like a single 4 kilobyte write.
At least it's consistent.
Like not even
That's
like
all I asked for in an error.
not even like QDepth 1 or anything like that. It was literally just like, do this write 4K only, 1 ping only, and
One ping only, Mr. Facility.
yeah, and the damn whole array would go to shit. Like, or at least the performance, it would still work. There were no errors. It was just slow, or way slower than it should have been.
And I mean, nothing off AMD, but it does feel still relatively immature. Like, as far as BIOS updates are going, apart, people playing with it and trying to figure out the weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe it's a wireless driver, so I'm going to screw around with that tonight. I didn't turn off IO MMU, so I'll kill that off because I'm not using the virtualization stuff at all. And sort of slowly trim stuff back step by step to see if I can pin it down.
Yeah.
But it's more fun when it's your own rig as opposed to, okay, I'm just doing some benchies on it, and if it doesn't work, screw it, I just won't do that.
Required maintenance is nowhere near as fun as unrequired maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to start this thing?
I believe so. Considering there were like 17
I
minutes after.
believe I can start it.
Okay.
He didn't start the podcast.
It was already recording since whatever.
Yeah, it's too hard to rhyme that shit.
Yeah.
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was.
You got to do the arm thing though.
Was it this?
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
Yeah.
Gotta find that vein.
Same as it ever was.
Okay. Ready?
No.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode number 510 being recorded August 22nd, 2018. I'm Alan Malventano.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And then there's an Alex. He's over there. Yep. He's going to contribute since we are missing a Ryan and a Ken. They're still, I think they're on airplanes now? Maybe not yet. They're
I think they're seeping.
They're about to be on airplanes coming from the land of fragrance.
The continent.
In Germany, Cologne. That's in Germany, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They were over there for the NVIDIA event. We will talk more about the results of said NVIDIA event as we get on with the show. Podcast@pcpro.com is an email address that I don't know why it's in the show notes anymore.
Because it will never go away. It's going to remain there for eternity.
Yeah, I bet people are still emailing that. I will make it a note to ask
There
Ryan
it is.
about
Every time.
that. Yeah, it's in the show notes every single time. PCPro.com/podcast is where you'll find the show notes for this show and prior episodes. I don't know how far back that goes, but probably pretty far. Actually, I think those posts probably go all the way back to number 1. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Kind of.
kind of, yeah. Whether or not the content is there and the links work to it is another story. I think archive.org or something has some. Anyway, twitter.com/PCPer, where you find, slightly faster updates to what's going on, kind of breaking news stuff, and whatnot. Mailing list, which is pcper.com/subscribe. If you give us your name and an email address, we just have like a blast that goes out. Did the blast go out this week? Did you do it?
I don't have access to it.
Oh,
Womp womp.
crap. Okay, well then you didn't get notified about this one, but I'll figure out how to fix that for next time. Ryan and Ken are both out at the same time. Usually they're not both gone at the same time, so one or the other does it.
You have a failing bus factor here.
I actually know that I have access to do it, but I don't know if it still works, because I think the last time I did it was like 4 years ago or something. Anyway, patreon.com/PCPer is where you can kick us some coin to help us, like keep the lights on and do extra things for content-wise and things like that, such as PCPer mailbag, of which we did one. Ryan did one last week before he left. Actually, I wasn't here when he recorded that one, so I kind of need to watch that one myself.
He's been ninjing those in.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that. And if he doesn't cover it, me or Josh or somebody steps in and takes care of it. About that mailbag, if you like that content and, have a question of your own, don't forget to post that question in either the comments of the article on the site or the comments of the YouTube video itself. Probably more likely to see it in the comments of the site, because sometimes YouTube comments do weird things as far as how they sort them.
Like exist?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Merch is JoshTech with 2Ks.com.
Is that K like real hard, or is it kind of just
Josh
a
Tech? Yeah. It's kind of like something like that. That'll shoot you over to our Teespring store, where we have a choice selection of t-shirts, and I still need to get that print and hang it up.
Prints and mugs, baby.
Look at that print. Look at it.
The Josh Walrus.
Oh,
Nope.
there you go.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go.
Yep, there it is.
But the printer needs a larger reticle. We need it bigger.
Yeah, we need that bigger.
I think I got the bigger one, the 25-inch. But it's on a far wall. What do you expect?
Yeah, that wall's further away than.
Sure is.
Objects on wall are further than they appear.
Yeah.
No, objects on wall are more awesome than they appear.
Well, that too. Yeah. Actually, I still need to get the mug. I know I say this every week and I still forget to do it.
Get it?
But we have the mug somewhere. Ken has one.
We do.
I've got one.
You've got.
It's in the kitchen right now.
Oh, it's not within
It's
reach.
not within arm's reach.
Oh man.
Oh.
If it's not in arm's reach, it's not there.
Think of how many people can't complete their bingo now.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Choose something else. If you dare.
All right. Well, so we can get into the week in review. First up, ARM releases first public CPU roadmap targeting Intel performance. Really, Josh?
Really? Okay, so if you go back ages ago, ARM didn't really have much of a PR gig going. And then I'd say back 2010, 2011, 2012, that kind of time period, they started, talking to people about it. I think we'd covered some ARM things at that time. Of course, in 2008 was the iPhone, which was powered by an ARM CPU. But, the company has always been kind of secretive about what they're doing. They also, when they announce something, it typically took about 3 years from when they announced it to when these products would actually show up in cell phones and other end user devices. And it was just kind of, I wouldn't say like a daisical, but it was not hurried. And then many things happened. Intel tried to get in with the Atom into cell phones. We've got the Risk 5 that has been rising up. There are other competitors out there, same, Qualcomm and Apple and Samsung all design their own parts because they are architectural licensees. And so ARM has really started to push themselves. And so the A76 that was announced this past summer is their latest core, and the performance on it looks pretty impressive. Now, we haven't actually seen any actual parts, but in all the simulations and whatnot, and apparently, ARM has pretty decent simulations because the stuff they've released before have all kind of fit in that same, kind of envelope as the simulations have shown in terms of performance and capabilities and power consumption. And so they're doing something that we have not seen until this point. They've announced an actual roadmap. So we've got the A76 that was announced, and then in next year their new core will be named Deimos, and it'll be produced at 7 nanometer, and their 2020 core is called Hercules, and it will be produced at an advanced 7 nanometer process, as well as the cutting edge 5 nanometer that should, in theory, be available at that part. Now, what's interesting about this is that with better design, more experience, larger design groups, they're really starting to push performance. And so if you scroll down a little bit, we can see that they're aiming at Intel Core i5 15-watt TDP processors at their not base clock, but their turbo speed. So this is a last generation part. They have the 8000 series out, which apparently is a little bit better. Turbo is a little bit faster, a little bit better IPC, not huge, but we can see the current generation core Cortex A76 is very, very competitive with the Core i5 7300U, and that's a 3 gigahertz processor versus 3.5 gigahertz. Now, we've got to have some caveats here. It's spec int 2006.
Yeah, it's just integer performance, right?
What's that?
That's just integer performance, right? Integer math.
Yeah. And so it doesn't tell you a whole lot about user experience. It doesn't see, it's not multi-threaded. This is a single core, single thread. But the thing about that kind of performance, it's still pretty impressive, and it's under a 5-watt TDP part. And so here's it going against the Intel 15-watt parts, and comes very close in performance, at least in this benchmark, with only less than 5 watts. So they're looking to really push the laptop market. I mean, they've got cell phones on lockdown. I mean, pretty much every cell phone out there, it's going to be ARM powered. There's nothing else. I mean, Intel tried, Intel failed for a variety of reasons, but now ARM is looking to expand into laptops. Now, the idea of getting a 5-watt, sub 5-watt TDP part into laptops is that it will be an always-on part. It'll go into sleep modes or low power modes that will be about, a half a watt. And when you start looking at that kind of battery consumption, I mean, it's going to last not just all day, but potentially a couple of days in just an idle mode. And that's far better than what Intel and AMD and these other guys can do in these laptop type architectures. You're going to have, less expensive laptops because less cooling is needed, less battery is needed to get, similar performance. And so it's going to be a less expensive part. And ARM really, really wants to get into this. And we're going to see a lot more of this when it comes to be the ARM TechCon in October, I believe.
Yeah.
But with Deimos and Hercules, they expect performance to continue to rise. So they think it's about 2.5 times performance from the previous A73, which is 2 generations ago, up to what Hercules is now. And that, you can kind of see in that graph where Intel has gone with the Core i5 series mobile parts, and it has not been nearly as large a change as what ARM is expecting. So the company is pretty aggressive, and their design groups are really good. They've all had a lot of experience. They've designed multiple products throughout the past 10 years that have all been pretty cutting edge for mobile, and now they're look to be encroaching in on Intel type performance at really, really low power.
Sweet.
So Josh, with the
Yeah.
was there a change on the 72 to 73 where they went and started adding more pipelines?
Well-
Was there like a fundamental shift somewhere along here?
Okay, so they have alternating groups that design products. So like the A72 was a derivative of a previous one, but the A73, I think if I remember this right, it was a brand new design. And so they went like from a 3-wide architecture in A72 to a 2-wide architecture in A73, but they actually increased overall performance because there are many different factors in how a chip works. And so now they've gone back to 3-wide, and I think this A76 is a 4-wide decode. Design, implementation, I mean, that counts for a lot.
Mhm.
And so it's not like they really had a massive shift, but they had a lot of very, very small changes in their architecture throughout time. And the group in Cambridge designs one, and then a group in France designs another, and they share that information, what works and what doesn't, and what they can improve on, and they really they do good at synthesizing new designs that work seemingly really well.
Sweet. All right. Next up, what do we got? Lee did a power supply review. I'm shocked that Lee did a power supply review. No.
Ba-doom-sh.
NZXT E850 digital power supply. Modular power supply. Ooh, it's a mini USB connector. Wonder what that's for.
That's for the cam.
Oh, yeah. Is it like good?
Well, I mean,
Because they
you
don't have.
can't just have a power supply anymore, right? You've got to have a fully monitored power supply.
Right.
And so this is like the similar that what Corsair and them do, but NZXT does it. And so they stick in
Corsair's been at that for a while, though. So, like,
oh yeah.
These guys are playing catch up in that regard.
Well, in a way, but I mean, that USB plug goes directly into a digital signal processor. So you can delve deeper in than some of the other ones.
Sweet.
Although with the new generations, they're about equivalent.
Yeah, I see it's given all of the vitals you would need there. And there's even more like options on the left side there. You can flip through different things from the looks of it. Huh. That's pretty cool. I'm kind of old school on my power supply still. I just want them to work. And like,
I
I
feel
don't
the
need-
same way about stereo equipment. Modern receivers are just so complex. I just want something to work.
just need sound to come out and stuff.
Yeah.
I just need power to come out, preferably at the correct voltage.
Yeah.
That's
Not coming out right, just strip the wires out and put them back in. Everything's fixed.
Yeah. I mean, looks good.
I mean, the caps aren't that impressive, but they look pretty high quality.
Yeah, I mean, quality parts. Let's see, what did he do for the conclusion? Where are we? So what we got? 650 was $130. 850 was $150. It's actually not a bad price for an 850. Usually,
A little bit high.
yeah.
But
They
it's
usually
pretty.
like spike up around the 850 mark.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's got the monitor in it, so you're paying for that DSP and such.
Right. We gave it a gold. It's 80 plus gold certified, but he got at least 90% efficiency under 50% load. I don't know if that's the certification or what he got. I think I think it exceeded the cert.
Yeah,
Right.
because it doesn't the cert require it to go to like 90% load or something to get certified at that level?
Well, yeah, all the way up to 90%, it would have to be 80% efficient, I believe. Right.
Hmm.
Modular cables. It's got a fanless mode. All Japanese electrolytic capacitors. Rated to 105C.
What is FDB? Something fluoro bearing?
A fluid dynamic bearing.
Ah.
Yep.
All
All the cool kids are doing it now.
Yeah. What's funny is it's like a decade ago or more when that was like first a thing, and then it kind of went away. It was
And
like,
then they realized those PSUs are still running after 10 years, so they brought it back and slapped 10-year warranties on the PSUs.
yeah, like when it first came out, it was like this big deal with like this rifle style, like channels in the sleeve of the bearing with fluid in there, because that's what actually promoted like the fluid to like circulate within the bearing. And it was like such a big, I don't remember which fan maker it was at the time that was like a huge deal. Oh no, it was initially in hard drives.
Didn't the hard drives move to air bearings at one point?
Well, in like server things that don't sit on their side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Things bolted to the ground. Yeah, those can have an air bearing. No, yeah, it was initially in hard drives, and then fans would either just have like a sleeve bearing, like a standard sleeve bearing, or ball bearings.
Yep.
Right.
Panaflow. Why not get Panaflow?
Yeah, but there were I could have swore
There were a
also
few
some-
others, but that was like the big one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know there were some fans that were doing that. It was like a huge deal, and it made the fan cost like twice as much at the time. And it was like, just for a bearing, bearing's like 3 cents. But anyway,
Worth it.
I digress. Let's see. Chris threw out yet another, in this case, mouse review. Logitech G Pro Wireless and G Pro Gaming mice. Looks like basically all of the standard specs, although, well, yeah. USB report rate up to 1 kilohertz, so 1 millisecond response. Yep. I mean, seems like you're kind of standard. It looks like an update on their design, basically, like newer revision. Notice that these don't have like numbers.
It's just a mouse.
Well, yeah, but before they had like 610 or whatever the Logitech was
It's
always.
just a mouse, G.
Yeah. The Pro Wireless version is 150, and the standard G Pro is 70.
That
seems high, but those are the prices straight from Logitech. I would suspect that you might find these cheaper on like Amazon and whatnot once they're.
those things better be built like a tank.
I mean, they look pretty much like they would be, right? Like they're pretty stout looking. They got
Swappable buttons.
swappable buttons, yeah.
One's amphibious.
Right. The wireless has buttons on both
ambidextrous, sorry.
sides. Although, wait, or is that both models that can do buttons on both sides?
I think they're both wireless, aren't they?
Mm.
No. Sorry.
No.
Just-
One's wired.
No.
One's wireless.
One's wired.
Yeah.
One's wireless.
I thought it was just you could detach the wire, but no.
Well, the wireless
Well,
one.
you can. You just can't put it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The wireless one has what seems to be now standard. It's just a slightly modified USB. Was it micro USB with like an extra little couple of spades on it for strain relief? So it will plug into the wireless mouse, and it just kind of transforms it into a wired version that will then be charging. And then you unplug the mouse from that thing, and then there's a little puck, like a little adapter that has the really tiny dongle wireless receiver on it that you just plug into the end of that same cable. Makes the charging thing pretty seamless. Actually, the mouse on Ryan's desk, same kind of thing. It's pretty handy. Because then when the mouse does die, you just unplug it from one thing, plug the mouse into the cable, and then boom, you just keep on going. Let like a half an hour go by or whatever, and usually it's charged, and you swap back to wireless if you want. Lighting and software. Okay, so this is going to use the same standard, kind of like Logitech. Well, it's a newer version of the Logitech software now that just has like a cleaner look to it. But basically same kind of thing. It's the same software that it does this light sync thing where you can do the same colors for your Logitech keyboard and your Logitech mouse. They also integrated, I don't know if you guys have toyed around with that at all, but like they integrated the Logitech webcam stuff into it as well. So, well, I'm not, yeah. So like you open up the software and there's usually just a tab along the bottom for like each different kind of Logitech device.
And it still recognizes my 518.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it goes all the way
the
back.
LEDs don't work so well
though.
I'd be curious what the sensor is.
It's
right.
Yeah, they listed it.
Hero 16K TM, right? Like it's this brand new sensor.
Yeah.
And like literally every single other mouse on the market's got that PixArt one, the 3389 or whatever it is, which also goes up to 16K.
I assume these also still have the accelerometers in them.
Yeah, we pretty much all do now.
I guess, right?
I'm just curious if they've rebranded it or if they've actually done their own.
I mean, it's a cool looking mouse. I noticed it has the blank built into the bottom there. If you have the wireless charging mat, comes with a replacement puck that you swap in. I don't know if Chris had that mat to test with, but like we've tested that that similar kind of thing in the past, and it worked well. All right. Well, I guess we'll just have to see what the street price of these things are before kind of giving final judgment. All right. Ready for news?
Get to the news.
The news everybody's been waiting for?
Yep.
Don't switch to that. Okay, here we go. So NVIDIA announced some things.
Minor launch.
Just, yeah.
Inconsequential.
Just slight upgrade to things. So RTX 2070, 2080, and 2080 Ti. All right, so that, put the rumors to bed as far as it's going to be 11XX or 20XX. Now we know it's 20. We didn't suspect them to announce an RTX 2070. But they did, at least paper launch style with specs and a notify me button on GeForce.com for that part. RTX 2080, RTX 2080 Ti. So what do we want to do for let's just get the prices out of the way first.
Okay.
If you want to pre-order these now, and I stress now, if you want to pre-order them, a 2080 is $800 and a 2080 Ti is $1,200. Now those prices come down theoretically, because the MSRPs are supposed to be $700 and $1,000 respectively for those same two parts. So knock 100 off of one and a couple hundred off of the other one. Those prices are kind of high. But first of all, the raster performance is probably an increase that's, as we'll see in another post we have shortly after this one, but the raster performance increase is roughly proportional to the price increases or the prices of these compared to the 10 series cards, right? In other words, the 2080 raster performance is roughly 50% higher than the raster performance of the 1080. And that's actually the same kind of increase you previously saw with the 1080 to the 1080 Ti, right? So the 2080 is kind of doing what the 1080 Ti used to do. And the price is around the same as what the 1080 Ti price was. 2080 Ti, of course, probably being another 50% or so gain on that, which is why that price is 50% higher than the 1080 Ti, bringing it all the way up to $1,000. However, these cards have some extra stuff in them. Where is that picture? Is that not in this article?
Which one?
Oh, there's a picture showing the breakdown of like what the cores looked like.
Oh, that was in the launch from last week from SIGGRAPH.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure where that. We don't have that in notes, do we?
Nope, because we talked about it last week.
All right. So yeah, so there's extra cores that can do RTX ray tracing, and as long as the game is coded for it, then it does some pretty phenomenal looking stuff. Again, that varies wildly based on implementation, and there's a bunch of rumors and stuff going around because nobody's actually had like hands-on benchmark results with this yet.
I think there's going to be a lot of variance here.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on how, like, this is brand new tech, and the performance is going to vary based on how that tech has been implemented, by the game engine maker, anything. A bunch of different variables are going to impact this. Think of any other game and all of the various options, like quality options you get, and their impact on performance. Now you have another thing that you're throwing in there that's a very complicated thing to do that nobody has previously been doing real time on the fly like this in just a consumer GPU that you can just play a game on your desktop with, which is pretty amazing on its own. For those who don't know what the heck this ray tracing thing is all about, it's basically just the ability to really accurately calculate reflections and shadows. Is basically right, guys. That's pretty much the deal, right? Raster.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. I mean, they've it's still primarily a rasterization, but it can do certain ray tracing type tricks, and so you have screen space limitations with rasterization. They don't necessarily exist with ray tracing, and so if you looked at any of the demos that they showed, it really kind of showed that stuff off, and lighting, reflections, shadows. These are all things that they can do with ray tracing, but they don't have to ray trace the entire scene. I mean, rasterization is 40 plus years old, and they've done a lot of really interesting tricks to get it very, very efficient, and a lot of tricks to make it kind of look like ray tracing, but obviously not with the massive overhead that ray tracing entails. And so they're doing multiple things in their RTX engine that can give you ray tracing type effects. And in many ways, this is very similar. And I hope you can't hear my wife yelling in the background at the kids.
No, but now I'm interested.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that. They don't understand the power of their own voices. But anyway, it's all about socks too. They're yelling about socks. It's awesome.
Sounds like a typical family argument.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, it reminds me of GeForce 3 versus GeForce 2 Ultra. GeForce 2 Ultra was the fastest of its generation, and everybody thought, okay, GeForce 3 is going to come out and it's just going to blow it away. And GeForce 3 didn't. It was very, very similar in all the games that were available at the time. And the only real area that it had an advantage in was because they implemented, a true multi-sampled AA unit versus what the GeForce 2 was just super sampling to be able to kind of compete with what 3DFX had with their T buffer and AA technology.
That was Voodoo 4, wasn't it? Or was
Voodoo
that
4,
3?
Voodoo 5 was the VSA 100 Voodoo scalable architecture that had the built-in multi-sampling rotated grid AA.
Ah.
So anyway, GeForce 3 was very, very similar in performance and sometimes a little lacking as compared to the GeForce 2 Ultra, but it delivered the first, integer-based shading, programmability. And so it was a DX8 part. it could run DX8 stuff. They had all kinds of demos out, and it looked pretty. Man, you had better AA performance overall without the super sampling issue that GeForce 2 had. So this is very similar because it doesn't have really any more, true shader cores as compared to the previous generation. But they do cram the engine, the GPU with the RTX stuff, the machine learning stuff. I can't remember what the third. I mean, it can do both floating point and 16 and 32 at the same time. I can't forget all the exact specifications, but it's a significant improvement in overall design. But we may not see per game improvements in benchmark results. The stuff that will leverage RTX will obviously, I mean, it's another level of realism and neat things that you can see. But one thing I don't know if entirely, everybody kind of caught on to, but the machine learning part, and they talked about how they, have all these servers in NVIDIA, and it does, some machine learning is like you give it a 1080p picture, and it goes through this process and it blows it up to 4K, and it does it in such a way that it looks like it's a native 4K. But it took a lot of iterations of this machine learning to try to get it to that point. And so I think where a lot of the stuff that they're doing with the the 4K performance on this is through a lot of the machine learning, that probably the core is rendering stuff at a much lower resolution where it can go fast, but because it's doing this, deep learning, machine learning thing on the fly at 60 frames per second and above, it looks like it's running it at a native 4K to most people. Now, there probably will be corner cases where somebody's going to run something and it looks like crap, but that's why the DLSS is not something that is enabled on all products. So it's going to be interesting to see some of the older programs being run on this card versus 1080 Ti, and see where it actually shakes out, because it's a lot of new tech thrown into this. It's a lot of interesting stuff and a lot of kind of thinking outside of the box, especially the machine learning stuff, because they're running all these simulations and whatnot on their big, powerful supercomputers at NVIDIA headquarters, and they find some unique way of being able to upscale things at a much faster rate and do it much more realistically and accurately. And they, you update the driver, and suddenly you get this new functionality through machine learning that on your local machine running your 2080 Ti, 2070, and suddenly you have better performance and better looking image quality. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see how well they're able to implement this and if the results are as good as what they're kind of promising.
Well, that actually brings us up to the next article on this list here with the leaked benchmarks here. So
it wasn't
I don't
leaked,
think
it was
not
official.
leaked.
They're
Yeah,
not
that's-
leaked.
Oh no,
Well,
this is
they're
official.
They're okay.
Yeah,
Teased.
this is NVIDIA's claims, right?
Yes.
And this is if you're running these games and demos at 4K, comparing a 1080 to a 2080, and then that brighter green bar that goes up further is if you include DLSS, which would allow the GPU to be rendering internally at a slightly lower resolution and then kind of blowing it up after the fact. So
yeah, but it also does AA on it.
yes,
So it makes it the image smoother as well. So you get kind of a double.
yeah,
double
it's
whammy.
almost as if you were running 4K with some sort of AA on.
Yeah.
Right.
Deep learning.
Yeah. But if you just put those whiter green bars aside and kind of get rid of that for a second, you'll notice that there is, like what I was talking about earlier, roughly a 50% gain over the last generation. And that would be not doing any ray tracing, not doing any of that other stuff. So that's just purely your raster-based performance. And it's roughly 50% gain across, just a sampling, pretty decent sampling of things, right? But yeah, I mean, that DLSS is pretty cool. The game has to support it, obviously, as you can note by only like some of the titles in this chart. Maybe some of those guys might be able to add that later. We don't know. Or they might be able to add it somehow in the driver so that you can like manually enable it for the game, given the way that NVIDIA's driver works. Sometimes you can just turn that stuff on outside of the game, right? I mean, you know, that part of it's interesting. The whole up-res thing for Ansel is interesting. Ray tracing is cool, but again, needs to be supported by the game. But when it's there, looks pretty cool. Another thing I didn't mention earlier, aspect of what ray tracing adds to it is, even if you're not relying on it heavily, you can at least make your lighting better, right? You can still be doing majority raster-based scene, but you can have light sources, lighting the objects in different ways from more than just point sources, and kind of just make for a more dynamically lit kind of scene, right? You can have light bouncing off of things, and even if you did it in a very coarse fashion that was like almost no performance hit, you'd still be getting probably miles better results than you are today with just pure straight rasterization, having add on a bunch of tricks, to emulate kind of like more broad light sources like daylight and stuff like that. Yeah. And I mean, they're showing 4K games, and I still think it's kind of a cheat and we need to actually see it in person to know. But if you're able to get 4K games running at 60 hertz in this case, they weren't even talking about the TI. I believe they were just talking about the 2080. If you can get there and it looks convincing enough, then, I mean, you can call it like they made it, right? Like they actually got to 4K 60. But again,
there's going to be a lot of interesting screenshots
Yeah.
in between a true 4K rendering versus what DLSS does.
right.
It's going to be fascinating to see the results.
Yeah.
There's going to be differences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's very much going to be like a perception type of, some people might notice those differences and it might actually bother them, and like to where it's not convincing to them. I'm sure that'll be a thing for at least some people. But I would venture a guess that for the majority of people that are just, going from like your typical console gamer type that just wants to do the console gaming on a PC and isn't like freeze framing the game and analyzing every pixel on the screen, it's probably going to be good enough. All right.
I'm all for good enough. I mean, look where I'm at in my life.
Well,
Certainly not excelling at it.
Oh, Scott with his punny article names. Turing versus Volta. 2 chips enter, no one dies. DIES. Spelled the same way, actually.
Clever.
He's punny.
Very, very, very clever. So these chips are huge, basically. Right, Josh?
Yeah. We don't know the exact size, but the Turing that they showed off at SIGGRAPH was 720 millimeter square. We don't know if the desktop variants that they've got here are going to be that big, but they're big, and the previous Volta is also really large, and it has the added joy of HBM memory.
There's that thing I was looking for earlier.
Yeah. I have no idea if that's what it really looks like or if it's just a kind of structural, functional, I don't know. Anyway.
I mean, I think because they were drawing boxes around different parts of this, and I think the boxes might have been relative. But if you notice, the core structures of all of these sections are like the same, whereas according to their labels, like a third of it is like ray tracing stuff, and like a third, so I doubt the die looks exactly the same pattern
Yeah.
on all of those areas. So
They're doing a lot of different and interesting things in there. So it's
yeah, I don't think they want it all out quite yet.
they don't want the secret sauce to be released.
Yep, and I don't blame them. Which leads to the question: what the heck is AMD going to do about this?
That's a really good question because they've got what Navi coming out next year.
Yeah, but do we
They've
really?
got Vega 7 nanometer that is going to be for machine learning, deep learning type stuff, and that's it. There's
Right.
not going to be any consumer variants that are going to be released. So, RX Vega 64 and 56 are what we've got right now, as well as the RX 580, 570, 560. They got nothing.
So you're going to
Yeah.
have
Yes.
So you're going to have this, whatever this window of period of months where,
You might be looking at a generation here.
right. But my point is, not only do you have that generation gap potentially, but you have all of this time for all of these game engine developers to drool over the possibilities of the RTX stuff and probably implement it in some way, shape, or form to get a better end result. Even if you do it in a non-huge performance hit fashion, it's still going to be an advantage, for the not just the game engine and the end result, like what's on the screen, but
Because,
also,
even with the GeForce 3, when it was released, the R250 came out pretty close behind it. So, in fact, the ATI, their 7000 series was like a Pixel Shader 1.0. And so I think Microsoft went with the Pixel Shader 1.1, 1.2 for actual DX8 capabilities. So, yeah, AMD doesn't have anything that does the DXR. I think DirectX ray tracing. I can't remember the exact. My brain is mush anymore these days.
Well, I mean, some of it is Vulkan compliant, which is a tiny little light shining through the window, but not a big one.
yeah.
That's sort of it.
Yeah, but that's also leads into what I'm saying before is like, if you give it enough time, it's gonna be in there probably, right?
They'll
it's-
design it in eventually. The type of support.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just math.
right.
If you support the math, it's going to work
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
But you'll want someone who can do the math in their head, not grabbing a pen and pencil and scribbling it out slowly.
Sure.
Is the
You don't want the CPU doing math that the
Yeah.
GPU can't do natively. Yeah.
And we don't expect really all of this ray tracing stuff to be like lockdown proprietary type stuff, right? Like,
The RTX stuff is,
well,
but the open, Microsoft DirectX ray tracing is open for everybody to use. But which is better and which will be more supported? And is it going to be another PhysX where it sorta is kind of a thing, but more of a dud, or is it going to be AMD 64 where everybody just kind of tries to use it and
does it.
It's what is the basis for compute? I don't know.
probably too early to tell since we haven't even. None of us on this podcast have actually watched this in person.
So, with the 10 series, they released that 2 years ago, maybe more.
2.5.
Yeah.
Almost.
2.5?
Yeah.
It's like March, April
Yeah.
of 2016.
So NVIDIA's been sitting on the 10 series for 2.5 years.
Yep.
Been selling like hotcakes.
Well, a good 1 year of that at least is the mining fiasco.
Well, details.
right.
yeah.
So they came out with 10 series. AMD came out with Vega. Vega was kind of found a bit lacking, and NVIDIA sat for 6 months and then sucker punched. They're set for the next 2 years.
Well, everybody thought that Volta was going to be the next thing. Nobody had any idea about Turing. I mean, there was some leaks and some talk about it, but we thought that Volta was going to be, kind of the next gen for NVIDIA, and it was going to be a small improvement, and wasn't going to bring anything spectacular to the table. And then suddenly, Turing and RTX.
Well, I mean, maybe in a world where mining wasn't a thing, Volta might have been a thing to fill the gap. Possibly.
I don't know.
You know, that would have made it so that it wasn't such a huge jump going from, going from Pascal to this.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big gamble for NVIDIA because the software support may just fall on its face. People will be thinking, we don't need this ray tracing thing. Consoles obviously don't support it, and they won't for many, many years. We don't want to spend the time to do, a PC version that embraces all this, and we've doubled our development time to be able to support what it would look like. I mean, things like Battlefield 5, they've got the personnel, they've got the money, they've got a lot of support from NVIDIA to integrate these features in their engine and in their final game, but not everybody's going to do it, and I'm curious to see how it shakes out. I mean, there are like 20, 25 titles that supposedly support RTX, but some of those are just DLSS support and not so much the ray tracing. So
yeah. I do wonder what's going to happen with the console gamers that so in the past, if you had a game on console versus a game on PC, the PC would do it at a higher frame rate, and they might have changed something a little bit with how the textures looked or whatnot, but it was usually not enormous differences, like performance differences, sure, but not like the look of the game wasn't crazy different. Now, potentially you're going to have, some game come out where you can see reflections off of the hoods of cars and crap like that, and the water is an actual reflection of, what it's bouncing off of, and like bus windows and whatever. You're like not almost, but actually able to look around corners, right? And actually see a guy running around the corner off of a reflection off of something in the environment, right? Versus the console version of that same thing with no ray tracing capability, like being a completely different experience.
Yeah.
In that respect. So, I mean, what does that do? Does that push like the console side to start looking at needing ray tracing ability and possibly even jumping over to NVIDIA? Moving down the road, if the push is hard enough? Like,
if AMD can't,
that's the concern, right? So it's basically where I'm going with this is AMD needs to figure this crap out quick.
Well, if NVIDIA does a semi-custom group, then sure, maybe, but will they? Or are they too happy with their technology?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that's like it. An NVIDIA chip in a console may very well not happen. So then you're going to have this. The PC Master Race guys are basically going to go nuts. I guess is where I'm going, at least in the short term.
Well, admittedly, those demos are really pretty.
That's the thing, right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some of them where they were flipping back and forth, and I was like, I forget, I think it was like the second example or something that was kind of like, yeah, okay, right? But then there were some that was like, oh, wow.
Well, the Tomb Raider Shadow demo was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it was subtle, but it was pretty.
Yeah. That's true. Anyway. I'm sure there will be plenty more talk about this down the line.
We're just going to drop it. This is the last we're going to speak of it.
Okay. It's overrated anyway. We're never going to get our hands on it. It's going to be limited edition. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one more tip on that is like, I mean, I know some people that have pre-ordered it already. I've considered it myself. I thought better of it though. Because at the pre-order prices, I think that's just way too much to be asking. And it's kind of too early since there's only a very limited set of things that are going to take advantage of that. And you also have the advantage of probably a bunch of like I don't know. I don't know if mining people are going to start fire selling their GPUs because of this, given that the prices are as high as they are. But once cards start coming out at what are supposed to be the MSRPs, when they finally come down to that level, I think that
Yeah,
gets
but you've got to have a whole bunch of software support to be able to leverage the extra potential compute performance of Turing.
Yes.
And so it's not going to be overnight. And some of the units may not necessarily be all that good for mining.
Well, based on the mining performance usually scales roughly proportionally to like what would be the raster performance. At least in my experience, right? You get a card with X number of cores, the number of cores. Sometimes some algorithms are more.
Yeah, but the cores are different. I mean, the machine learning stuff is what, quarter precision?
Yeah, I'm not even saying.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're going to use any of those other cores. I'm talking just your.
I don't think you're going to get any more performance out of this than they will a 1080 Ti. In that kind of.
Well, yeah, that's my point.
Workload.
Like a 2080 will probably be on par with a 1080 Ti. Is my point.
I think
Until someone invents
less.
occlusion coin.
Yeah, we're not going to know until somebody gets it and tries to mine with it. Which, by the way, the software is not going to be ready. Like the algorithms, are not necessarily going to be optimized to run on this hardware like immediately. So the first guy that gets it and tries to run, NiceHash or whatever on the thing, it might be getting numbers that, aren't even using everything all the hardware on the card. All the
I hope
hardware
so.
that it could be using on the card is my point. Right. But yeah, you're right. Like, I don't think the ray tracing stuff, or the machine learning stuff is going to carry forward to, any kind of profit margin for a miner on these things.
Yeah, ASICs are still probably going to be better than this.
I think most of them have figured out dumping $1,200 on ASICs is going to work better.
Probably. All right. So, and then we have card announcements. So we've got Asus, ROG Strix, Dual and Turbo Series. I think the Turbo Series just has the 3-fan cooler. 2080 Ti and 2080 GPUs. Notice that these are 2.5 to 3 slot.
They're big. Those are big, long cards.
Yeah, it's triple fan, long card, and pushing 3 slots.
Did we get any kind of confirmation if that's using NVLink on the RTX cards?
The 2080 and Ti and the Ti will use NVLink. So I was totally wrong, but I thought that SLI would just, stay as it was on the consumer and NVLink would be at the higher end. They totally kneecapped me and made me look like a fool more than they usually do.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, I get to sit next to you too.
It's
'cause
NVLink.
I was pushing the same agenda. Like, there's no way. No way.
The 2070 does not support NVLink.
Really?
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
No.
So it's single card only for the 70s now?
Yep. So
Yeah.
you can't get inexpensive relatively inexpensive dual 2070s. It's going to be 2080s and 2080 Ti's if you want multi-GPU. But NVLink takes care of a lot of problems when it comes to multi-GPU.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of bandwidth.
All right. Oh, well, that's a weird jump to make.
Yeah, well, was there anything else we need to talk about RTX?
Yeah. Anything?
I think we covered it.
No, I think it's beat to death.
That's it for now. We need some actual benchmarks.
We need the hardware.
We need
Next
the hardware.
month.
Yeah, next month.
Now for something completely
Now
different.
for something completely different. Lian Li making RGB power cables. From Lian Li. Of all people.
Did we talk
Pretty.
about the Lian Li one a couple
So
weeks ago?
this was
it
an
different?
anti-pick of mine a while ago because they were talking about releasing them.
Yeah,
They weren't sure if they were going to do it.
right.
Well, they did it, and they sent out a review unit.
Okay.
And It is every frickin' bit as ridiculous as you think it would be. Just click over, and the first thing they have is a video of it going nuts.
Oh, is it like individual? Like,
Oh, you know it.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
It is ridiculous.
That's just crazy.
So it's about a 6-inch, 7-8-inch extension to your ATX power supply that's bright white.
Okay.
And then over top of it, you clamp these clear RGB things. So it's reflecting from underneath.
Okay. I get it. I can see the white cables
It's-
underneath.
Oh, I don't get it. I see it, but I don't get it.
Now, okay, so if you're into RGB lighting, that's cool. Right? Like, you know, like if you're trying to RGB light all the things in your case, that's definitely a worthy addition for that particular kind of person. I am not that particular kind of person. However, like I could see the market. Speaking of market, how much is this thing? Do we know?
I'm just looking up to see if we've got a price. I think it's about 50 bucks.
40 pounds if you're in the
So that's
UK market?
40 pounds? That's more like
Yes.
60 or 70 bucks, right?
Yeah. It's not cheap.
Yeah, it doesn't transfer
Oops.
directly.
Yeah, that's not cheap for, you know,
For bling.
something that's just a short extension with some lights on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
but if
normally 50, it's 40 bucks off. Or sorry, it's 20% off. It's 40 bucks right now.
Bucks
On
as in
Newegg.
dollars? Oh,
Yeah, Newegg.
okay. Well, that's not bad.
I don't know. If you're the kind of person that needs this, you're gonna need it,
Yeah, you're gonna pay whatever.
and more power to you.
Now, before the podcast, I was writing up, you know, an SSD that has RGB lighting, which would probably complement this thing just great.
Good
See,
lord, the selling page has poems on it.
poems. Okay.
Poems.
Are they poems or haiku?
Glamorous neon lights effects. Like a rainbow waterfall flows. Red, orange, yellow, green, purple, blue. It is a shining rainbow from the front of the motherboard.
That's not a poem.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's not a good
Yeah,
poem,
It's
but
not a good poem.
A limerick?
Yeah. They hired the wrong agency to do their PR. Okay. Let's move away from that. Oh, more RGBs.
they are everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And backlighting a keyboard I'm okay with, though. All right, so
I'm not.
what is this, Jeremy?
It is that we have to come out and talk to Nate.
Okay.
He has a problem.
What?
He has a keyboard addiction.
I didn't know Nate had a keyboard addiction. Okay.
Oh, good God, does he ever? It just they just pile and pile and pile. He spews these things out constantly.
Okay.
The weird thing about this one, and your new word for today, is mechanical.
Uh-huh.
So it's a membrane keyboard with some buckling springs on top of the membrane.
What?
That
So
sounds like
that
a horrible idea.
Feels like a mechanical keyboard. It sounds like a mechanical keyboard. Costs about the same as a mechanical keyboard, but it's got a membrane on it. Because
What's-
that makes sense.
I guess.
What's the
And so the
weighting
odd
on
thing with
these?
this was, you press it, you bottom it out, and he said that they feel a lot like the Kale switches. But if you just even slightly raise your finger,
Uh-huh.
so you've still got the key to press, but it's just the tiniest bit raised,
Right.
spring disconnects, button no longer registers you're pressing it.
Okay.
Hmm.
I don't
It's-
know. I could see that as a strength and a weakness.
It's just, it's something that I'm sure someone out there is going to love. I don't know what's wrong with that person, but I wish them all the joy in the world with them and their chroma keyboard.
Well, I can see if you adapted yourself to it and you were trying to do like Twitch sort of gaming where you needed to be able to do rapid presses sometimes, but you also wanted
Yeah.
the mechanical keyboard, you could kind of muscle memory your way into being able to do rapid presses on what would normally be not easy to do on a like a bistable style like mechanical.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have
Key
to
press.
completely let it go back to neutral
Right.
to get it going again.
Right.
So the membrane is stiffer than the buckling spring when it's buckled.
Well, no, it's that the membrane doesn't even get pushed in until you've gone past the threshold. But then once you've passed the threshold, now it's like fully pressing a membrane key in. So then if you slightly lift up, the spring's already compressed. Like everything's already happened in the mechanism. So you can kind of like rapid fire.
Oh, so it's not like the actuation with the old Model M's. The actual buckle doesn't trigger.
Yeah, it just makes the sound and the feel.
Yeah, because the domes are way, way at the bottom, like even underneath the base plate.
So it's like those fake air intakes on cars.
No, I mean like it's doing a different thing, right? So
Yeah,
like
it's different.
So like,
Yeah, it's more like vinyl on cars.
so if you had a regular if you had a regular buckling spring, it would have to click back for you to release the key.
Right.
Whereas this, you can release and then repress the key as long as you keep the key on the other side of the threshold. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably one of those things you have to feel to properly understand.
This sounds like compromise with trying to avoid trade-offs.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem is that it runs about $100. If it ran for 60 or 70 and sort of felt like a mechanical keyboard, all right, that almost makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But to be charging as much as a lower end mechanical keyboard, like I don't get it. But it's interesting. I mean, it's sort of like the linear switch one from the company I can't remember that came
one with the infrared LEDs or whatever.
Wasn't that no, it was
pad?
linear pre-pushing. So it would actually register the further down you push, the more you could walk with a light touch and run with a full touch.
Yeah, it was using like some sort of infrared LED thing or something, where it's like you were the closer it was to the.
Yeah, that was the aim pad, wasn't it?
I think so. I think that was the name.
Yeah, aim or game or something. Wait, it's in the back somewhere.
Yeah,
we got it here somewhere. All right, let's move on.
Moving along.
Jeremy, what's this smart plug connected to your idiot box? Idiot box connected to your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi connected to the knee bone thing.
And everything's connected to the Internet of Shit.
Yep.
It's all a big truck.
You know that universal plug-and-play protocol that your people are supposed to remember to turn off the second they buy anything?
Oh yeah, that horrible security vulnerability present on all generic routers. Yes, yes,
Can I have this port forwarded?
Yeah. What about it?
Just blow it to the DMZ.
So yeah, it's this is a smart power plug from Wemo, and so you can on your cell phone see how much power is being drawn by it, or randomly turn the lights on and off on a programmed cycle and such. But a couple of researchers said, yeah, it's probably insecure, and they connected to it and bounced onto a Wi-Fi and started playing around with the guy's Roku. And so yeah, guess what? It's a Wi-Fi gateway, and that means it plays with all of your stuff.
Lovely. I love it when people gain root access to devices that are also already authenticated on my network.
Through your power plug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're living in the future.
I love the Internet of Shit.
Yeah. Okay.
So stick to the clapper. You can't hack it.
Challenge accepted.
All right. Jeremy, what are you doing gaming on the blockchain?
Oh, this is now the pinnacle of ridiculousness. So if you want to become the dark blockchain master and get 1 million jobs out of LinkedIn because nobody knows what the hell a blockchain is, well, practice with the new Blockchain Tycoon game.
Oh my God.
I wish I was kidding, but I'm not.
Does this actually teach you how blockchain would work in a roundabout way?
No, because nobody knows how that happens. Of course not.
Does
No, it
Business
teaches you how to
Tycoon-
buy some GPUs, make enough money to buy a better HVAC system, to buy some more GPUs to get
are
enough
you
income to switch
freaking
over to
kidding me?
ASICs, to rent a place in Russia somewhere.
It's
so that
Mining
you can-
Operation Simulator 2020.
Yes.
Is that what this
Yeah,
frickin'
yep.
is? Oh my God.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, if you want, at the Wyoming hackathon or something, they're giving $5,000 away to someone who has the best idea in how to use a blockchain to do whatever.
Just
And it's like
$5,000.
$5,000. So if you got a great idea for how to implement blockchain for something we really need, it's money for your grabbing.
Plastic
But you
water
know
bottles.
what? Blockchain is just I don't.
I mean, a lot of the ideas are already like implemented for where it's practical, right? You know, you need a secure way of recording some information and stuff. Right? It's good for public.
Purebred dog breeding.
It's great for like public records and like, you know, recording deed transfers and
Yeah, transactions.
things where you don't want to be able to go back and change history easily, right? And alter records. That's a good application of it. But
For everything
otherwise,
else,
it's
there's
just too compute intensive for most stuff.
Yeah.
It's a waste. I don't know.
But let me tell
Blockchain.
you, if you reach the top level of this, and you could put that on your LinkedIn, and you'll have a job tomorrow, somewhere,
I beat
and they will pay
I
you
beat
millions of
Blockchain
dollars because
Tycoon.
you say blockchain a lot. I'm thinking of doing it.
Maybe then you can say on your LinkedIn that you are a blockchain tycoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Doug,
You'll just make people drool incessantly. All right.
next thing you know, Gwyneth Paltrow's picking you up to sell jade eggs.
Any more news?
No.
No?
Oh,
Thank the
Thank
Lord.
goodness. Okay. Picks of the week. So I got tired of playing Office Space with an inkjet printer.
Oh, good God. You went all
You
in
know,
one?
the best part about laser is the jets don't clog.
There is that. Yeah. So I went all in one because here's the problem. I had a Canon, some random Canon all-in-one, right? Apparently this is the case not just with Canon all-in-ones, but a lot of all-in-ones, is if the inkjet part of the all-in-one stops working for some reason, like the printhead fails, the printer...
It's a 0-in-1.
The printer, yeah, the scanner and all the other functionality on it, which is perfectly fine because like the printhead failed or something.
You are correct, sir.
You can't use it as a scanner, even though it's a great like automatic feeding double side scanner, whatever bell and whistle was in there. Yeah, kind of sucks. So when you combine that with inkjet stuff that clogs or printheads that fail, like I was literally, I don't know, I'm beginning to think it's baked into the firmware on some of these printers. Because I went 2 in a row and it failed, like that printhead failed like a month after the warranty was up. Like ×2. So fool me twice, buy a laser printer instead of the inkjet. Anyway, so I started researching this, and like most of these color laser printers are kind of on the pricey side, especially if you want like a good all-in-one. And then I found that this particular model of the Canon color image class laser printer, which is like it's the MF733. Like, if you look at their whole line, like this one is like near the top, if not at the top of the line, and it costs the same as like several rungs lower. It's just that I guess nobody was buying it for the price they wanted to sell it for, which was like, I think almost double. Like I think it was like closer to $500 or $600. And just they just weren't moving apparently because now they're available. Like when I ordered mine, it was like $330. Now it's $300 for this thing with a 3-year warranty that it comes with, which is better than warranties on most of the inkjets because nobody dares sell an inkjet with a 3-year warranty because there's no way it's going to last that long.
90 days usually.
The scanner, the difference between the 733 model and like the one lower, which I think is 731, is the scanner can actually scan both sides simultaneously. It doesn't have to feed the paper through twice. So it'll double side scan like almost faster than it can double side print, which is pretty darn handy, especially if you have people in your house trying to, get their advanced degrees and stuff and doing a lot of printing and whatnot. And as I've noticed, like when you go to print something on this, the paper's out of the printer within like a few seconds. Not like, oh, it's going to sit there and like unclog itself or purge something or clean the print head or whatever. It just, you want to print to it and it prints. and it just like works. Anyway,
That's a rare thing in modern technology.
yeah, and this one actually seems to be low enough power consumption. Like usually laser printers, you don't plug them into a UPS. They always have warnings on them, right? I inadvertently plugged this one into my UPS, the same as on my desktop, and it didn't even like beep at me when it was printing. So that was surprising. So somehow they made a reasonably power efficient all-in-one laser printer.
I mean, this is a $300 color laser multifunction.
Yeah.
I bought a black and white Samsung laser 13, maybe 14 years ago. It was $3.
Yeah.
Never had a trouble with it. It just keeps working.
That's the thing.
I
right?
love laser printers. They're wonderful.
And the other thing that I researched along with this is you can get away with third-party toner way easier than you can get away or not get away with third-party ink for inkjet printers, especially like third-party pigment inks, which I have personally completely trashed a inkjet printer by using third-party ink when the pigment ink like dried up inside the
Yep.
purged lines and stuff on the printer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had completely field stripped an inkjet printer down to nothing and had to I was running alcohol through these little rubber hoses to try to, and actually having to squeeze the hose and break the dried up ink back
If
up.
you got nothing to do for a couple of days, that'll work.
That's pretty much what that was. It was like,
I mean,
it was like a $70 printer. I spent way more than $70 worth of my time just screwing with that thing. But
It's the principle.
it was the principal thing. I was not going to let that printer beat me. And then eventually it got thrown in the trash. Replaced with another one of the same model, which only lasted a year and 1 month. So
who won?
the printer won 2 times. Hopefully the same doesn't happen with this. And if it does, well, as long as it does it within 3 years, I feel better. But still, $300 for, and I mean, I thought the color wouldn't be that great. I thought the scanner wouldn't be that great. And it does this calibration routine, which I don't know if any of you guys have had any experience with these newer ones, but it prints out a sheet. You run that sheet. It's got all the different color bands on it. And you run that sheet through the scanner. And then it prints out another sheet. And you run that one through the scanner. And after I did that procedure, I couldn't tell the difference on the initial print that it had calibrated off of versus I took that same sheet and I ran it through the copier. And it printed out a copy of it. And it was basically identical, right? It was a color copy. It was pretty damn good. And the colors are vivid, and it's it's apparently color laser printing has come a long way. Looks pretty darn good. Anyway, next up. Who's next?
Jeremy's next.
Jeremy's next.
Am I next?
Didn't you just pick? Oh no, that was a cooler. Okay.
That was a cooler, but this goes with it because I gotta tell you, one of my favorite things about this Buddy Upgrade is a case that can fit 14 centimeter fans.
14 centimeter fans.
140 millimeter if you prefer.
Oh, okay.
It's so much better. Just stupidly quieter. These have the ULN adapters. I said I'll install them without it first just to see how it is. I'm not going to install them. I don't need to. This thing at 100% load with the GPU too, like the Boink going 100% CPU and 100% GPU full out. I can't hear it. I am peeking around the corner to make sure the damn thing's still on. It's ridiculously lovely. The extra bit of size just drops the noise ridiculously.
And we used to be able to hear your PC running on this podcast. So I've noticed that.
I mean, part of that was because it was a NZXT Hutch. So, I mean, in theory, it was supposed to be sound dampened, but it was just mostly insulation.
Uh-huh.
So now that it's hidden out in the kitchen, I've got it under a table and protected, and I have the side off of it, and it sounds much better. But even still, it's louder than this one is. Right? Just idling, it's almost louder than this thing is going. It's craziness. I mean, yeah, you can't have a little tiny case unless you go really, really oddly built. And this particular case, the Rise that I got. It's got 7 fans in it. So they're just slowly spinning, just enough to keep everything happy. And no noise at all.
The only thing I don't like about Noctua fans is they charge a premium for black.
They do.
It's just like, I just want black fans in the case. I don't want, like,
Racist.
light brown.
The puke.
It is kind of like
No,
like
it's
a
more
puke-
like what I clean up out of the cat box, but that's
See,
okay.
Dude, you need to take your cats to the vet because that ain't
Yeah, I
right.
was gonna say your cats are really sick.
No, he's just old and
Hmm.
Because that's not what my cat's litter box looks like at all.
Biohazard in the chat saying the black fans are different. I'm not talking about the higher RPM other ones. They also you can also find like the standard low RPM
yeah,
versions.
pretty much.
You can find them in black. It's just they're either hard to find or they don't make them in all of the lines necessarily. Anyway.
Anyhow.
Josh.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
You
Is
know
it
what?
an
I
SSD?
stumbled back across this, and it was a fantastic series at the time. If you enjoy Bruce Campbell and Western and sci-fi and funny, this is it. Briscoe County Jr. The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Get it on DVD. You'll enjoy it. You'll watch it a couple of times. $30. It's a lot of entertainment. I'm surprised it's not on any kind of streaming thing because it was
No doubt.
really fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask if it was on any streaming services. But
No, it's not.
sometimes you just got to get the DVD, and fortunately for Josh, he still has a DVD player
It's
in his PC.
1993, so it's yeah. I do have opticals, so screw you all.
Yes, Josh still has optical, so he's the
So do
only
I.
person on this podcast that has a thing that he could plug these DVDs into.
That's not true.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've got
Alan,
one as well.
You put one in your new machine, Jeremy?
Hell yeah.
Oh, wow.
Alan, you're the
Nice.
exception here.
You kicked
I'm the
you
exception?
kicked the tariffs and
Sorry.
installed one, didn't you? Oh, wait, no, you're in Canada, so you don't have tariffs.
I
Never
mean, I
mind.
do have
Well, no, we do have those tariffs too up here. They're slightly different, but the same. I just
Oh.
reused it because I retired my old Q6600, which was still going strong, crazily enough. That's one hell of a chip. But now that I retired it, it's like, yoink, grab the optical out of that, put it in this thing. And I'm happy as a
Voila.
clam.
I mean, I do have like an emergency optical drive and a USB enclosure in a drawer next to my desk, but I don't think I've opened that drawer in several years. Anyway.
I even have an
Fun
adapter
series.
for an old 3.5-inch drive. I did not install that, but I could.
You don't want to hear that thing buzz back and forth every time you turn your PC on, Jeremy? Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So-
Alex,
So yeah, I have an anti-technology pick this week.
that is definitely well. No, there's technology there.
No, this is circa 1984, 85 technology.
Yeah. Maybe early '80s.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
We call it early 80s. So I've been working on a big block Chevy for reasons, and I've been having trouble with it. And I finally just said,
As one does.
as one does. I've been having all sorts of issues with this thing, and I
It's
found
called a street fire.
it is a street fire. So I felt like
That does not sound good.
this is not the best title for
It's the
something for
worst
what they
name
do.
ever for a car part.
So
The distributor. Well, what does it do? Well, I catch fire on the
it
street
catches
occasionally.
fire.
You know,
so GM came up with the HEI back in the 80s, and I got so
That
sick and
stands for.
tired.
Hold on, we have computer people on this podcast.
Oh,
High
yeah.
energy ignition.
Yes, high energy ignition. And anyway, I got stuck in traffic next to the studio when I took the car out a couple months ago, and I cooked it. I cooked the plug wires, I cooked the coil. It was bad. Then I finally just said, screw it, I'm buying new ignition. You can get cheap HEIs from China for $50. But as someone who's had to rebuild 2 motors because of shear distributor shafts, I'm not going to pull that crap. This is a nice middle ground. It's $150. The billet racing distributors are $450.
Oof.
Yeah.
So this is a sale
this is a sale. This
compared
is
to that.
This is a bog standard GM HEI distributor, which they can use on any motor. It's pretty billet. Everything's new. I plugged it in and it just worked.
Sweet.
I like when things just work.
Yeah. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Look at that helical gear at the bottom.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know,
yeah.
isn't it
Well, that's
pretty?
because the shaft that's turning it is turning 90 degrees to it. So
Yeah. And this is
I
so
don't. Well, that's a helical gear.
yeah.
yeah.
It's like you're. Never mind.
What?
Nothing.
It's a heel. Yes, it's a helical gear.
Nothing.
Okay.
Woo!
You've
Thumbnail.
given him the vapors.
Wait a minute. What you got 2 picks?
Well, there's a two-parter for this. If you want to actually get it dialed in, you need the weight kit.
Oh, you gotta add. You gotta mod your.
Oh
You-
yeah.
You gotta
Out of the
spend an extra
box.
$20 on that $150 thing.
I'd rather spend $20 and get the right parts than have to dig around for 3 hours trying to find a spring.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
My time is worth more than $7 an hour.
So back in the day, you used centrifugal force and springs
Yep.
to figure out how much advance on your ignition.
And if you need to take some advance out, you ground down the weights.
You ground down the weight or you change the spring.
Yep.
Anyway,
It was a simpler world.
Oh, back when I
Yeah, it
got in a
was.
lot of trouble for making a comment about what happens if you do the opposite of advance it.
North Ranger in the chat is
Yeah,
saying
you
that
retard it.
North Ranger in the
Yeah.
chat is saying that this
I
weight
got in
kit,
some trouble for that.
this weight kit is DLC for your distributor.
Now we've got what, phasers and oil pressure and advancing. It just cam timings.
Yeah.
Crap like that.
Everything's moving around. You got 4 cams moving different. You got your crank sensor, and then your coil packs just fail on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know about that, Alan, don't you?
Yeah. All right. Well, enough of that. I guess that wraps it up. PCPro.com/podcast. Show notes. I think Alex will probably. Are you coming in tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right. So this episode will be up tomorrow.
Of course it'll be up tomorrow.
And yeah, I mean, I guess with that, look forward to way more Turing discussions in the future. At a minimum next week, because I know Ryan and Ken were doing the crazy deep dive on all the stuff, which I'm not sure what the NDA is on. So maybe Ryan and Ken will be able to talk more about it next week. Or maybe they won't be able to talk about it until the launch. What's the actual launch date?
20th?
Yeah.
September 20th?
September 20th.
Yep.
So we're not sure how the dates are and the rollout of the discussion and all the stuff that happened at the editor's day out there. But anyway, with that, dream of faster GPUs, I guess. And good night, everybody.
Have a better tomorrow.
If only.
Yeah.
Josh just wants to play his racing games with ray tracing on.
No. Sure, why not?
So was the RTX demos done at 1080 on the 2080, or was that at full 4K?
We don't know.
Some of them were 4K. The problem is the stream was 1080p.
Ah.
And there were several times during the presentation where they were saying, like, you know, I think the stream was even mentioned on the stream, like as far as like, you might not be seeing this the same way that like the room is seeing it or something like that. I thought some words to that effect came out at some point during that stream. The quality of the stream was particularly bad.
As is tradition.
Yeah, it seemed even worse than normal for Twitch. Maybe because their servers were crumbling. Because the stream was dropping out for a lot of people. We had like, I think 3 or 4 other guys, like Scott and Tim and other editors on the site were trying to watch it to cover it. Sebastian was watching it too, and it like kept dropping out at random for everybody. Dropped out for me once. That's an excellent idea from the chat. DLSS should do
what?
compression deblocking for video streams. That's an amazing idea.
I don't know. I like my aliases. Sometimes they don't know it's me.
Oh,
Anyhow.
speaking of rustling jimmies, I need to go see my chiropractor tomorrow. Thanks to Alan.
Sorry.
He make you pick up something heavy?
No, I didn't tell him to put his head back against the headrest before I
Yeah.
floored it in a
Wow.
car that I'm driving.
Why is this
You have
headrest
the
so
Tesla or
sturdy?
what?
A different Tesla.
When you're pinned back in the seat like this, and you feel your neck go,
It's okay. I did it a second time and straightened him right out.
yeah, I'm fine now.
I might have accelerated Alex to 60 in less than 3 seconds earlier.
It was fun.
2 times.
I giggled a lot.
Yeah, but what'd you do in the car?
You know, my car goes 0 to 60 in 3.2.
Yeah.
In Forza?
But it's not even a Tesla.
What do
But you
got
gotta
that
have
goes,
sticky tires in hot weather.
What do you got that goes 0 to 60 in 3.2?
It's 662 horse GT500,
Yeah, it's a supercharged 6 something.
5.8 liter supercharged.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That you own?
Alan, how have you not known this? We've talked about this multiple times.
I need to go see this car now.
As you do.
Yeah.
It goes very fast.
I do need to see this car now.
I can lay rubber in third gear at 100 miles an hour. It's awesome.
Dude, fuck that. I got sideways to 60 after I put that distributor in. Nope. Nope.
It's because you weren't ready for, cylinders working.
Yeah.
Apparently I had 3
And
cylinders down.
ignition and things.
Hey, I could romp it in third gear before. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Anyhow.
KTMs.
Undermined actually nailed it. It was ludicrous speed.
Yep.
It was actually a ludicrous speed.
Well, with all the buttons you got to push, like push that button, push that there, move it there, put it there, hold the brake down, tap.
Well, yeah,
tap,
putting
tap,
it in launch mode.
tap.
Well, it
Like,
didn't
what
want
are we
to.
doing here?
I think I need to properly learn the timing of how to get that car to properly launch.
It's an electric
You were
car.
laughing for 10 seconds straight.
Oh, well, we're not debating that.
Like I didn't even get to 10 miles an hour and Alex was already giggling.
Well, I felt my eyes deform, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to laugh or I'm going to cry. So I might as well laugh.
Yeah.
The fastest that I was ever on was a Kawasaki ZX14, where it's 0 to 60 in 1.82 seconds.
That's crazy.
That's ludicrous.
Yeah, crotch rockets can do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're holding on for dear life, and you never get acceleration in a car like that. It's just nuts. I went 170 around a long sweeping corner and dragging my toe across the ground and thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, wow. That's a classic comment from Xmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was I
Very
doing
true.
Keeping it classy.
that? Uh-huh.
You know, I'm going to leave, not because of anything you guys have said or anybody else, but I'm just really tired.
I feel
We've
you,
talked
Josh.
about cars,
We've
and now I've got to go.
checked
Though,
all
the one last thing I say, a friend of mine, his dad bought a 1968 experimental GT500. It was the only one ever built. And he bought it in 1973, 74 from some dealer in Colorado Springs that didn't know what they had. And then they hit hard times and they had to sell it. And so somebody has been kept this EXP 500 in a junkyard for the last 20 years. And my good friend's got this picture of him standing in front of this super rare one-off car that
Tell me
if
it's
you,
not outside.
it was outside and it needs to be,
Oh, Jesus.
but it was a $500,000 car right now.
Yeah.
The shape it because it was a one-off. It was one of the first supercharged. It had dual quad carburetors. That makes sense. It's the
Yeah, no, I get it.
yeah. I mean, it was a monster car, and this guy had it here in Laramie, Wyoming, and he had to sell it because it was tight times.
Actually,
happens.
so in the chat, someone's saying, yeah, that new Tesla Roadster is supposed to go 0 to 60 in 1.9. I think today was the Jay Leno video was supposed to go up. At Jay Leno's garage or whatever. He was supposed to do a video on the Roadster. Like with it actually driving, video of somebody in the Roadster doing 0 to 60 in 1.9. I haven't watched the video, but that's supposed to be like what's going on there. So I'll have to check it out.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
See if I can crash my computer again.
Sweet.
Night out.
Yep.
Later.
Anybody got any quick questions in the chat or anything? How many G's is that? Well, I could tell you that the beginning part of 0 to 60 and 2.8 is about 1.3 G's. It's only 1.3 G's until you hit like 30 or something. And then it starts tapering off because the battery in a Tesla is only so powerful for so long.
Going from 2.8 to 1.9 is a serious bump.
Yeah.
That's-
50% faster.
I think it's more than that.
2.8 to 1.9?
Well,
Yeah, it's 50% faster. So
the
then,
time is 50% faster, but
Yes.
the acceleration
yes.
is more.
Well, the acceleration is sustained for longer.
Right.
You're still, the 1.3 G peak is still roughly the best you're going to get out of decent tires on like normal pavement, right? It's just that
Yeah. Until
if you hold that, further out from 30, then you can get to 60, 50% faster.
Right.
See what I mean? Like the 0 to
Just-
30 is probably roughly the same.
So it's that same initial
That initial
whack,
Yeah.
but it just
Yeah.
lasts more than half a
Yes.
second.
Yes. It lasts.
Shortly.
It lasts like the full 2 seconds instead of the first 1.5 seconds or 1 second out of 2.8 seconds.
See, that would get me in trouble.
Yeah.
That would get me in lots of trouble.
Need a car with just a giant rubber tire underneath. Yeah.
Just put the car in the trebuchet, and we're done.
Trebuchet.
Problem solved.
It should just make the Age of Empires trebuchet sound when you do launch mode. As soon as you let out the brake, it just. Oh, jeez.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? Woodchuck could chuck wood? As much wood as a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Left a question.
Next question.
Left a question for me and Josh with Josh for the PC per mailbag. Okay.
And benchmarking sessions are boring as hell.
In what? What are we talking about?
Oh, your tractor. Have you guys considered doing more odd streams now and then for things like benchmarking sessions or other
Yeah.
techie stuff?
Honestly, that is so fucking boring on a stream. And then the other thing is, you'd be surprised how many times we'll go through, measure a few things, look at the numbers, and go, "Oh wait, like, like something's wrong here or something," and have to go back and like see if there was some configuration problem or even reinstall the OS or anything like So, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even want to see live numbers from a benchmarking session because you'd get your hopes up potentially over nothing, or you'd be pissed off over nothing. Right? Like And you say, oh my God, that's such an amazing number. And then it's like, yeah, but we had like all the AAs off by accident, or we thought they were on and they weren't applying for some reason. And, you know, stuff like that. And then apart from that, yeah, it's basically just somebody sitting over there on the other side of the curtain that you can't see on the screen, but like, you know, usually Ken, just sitting over there trying to do the same repetitive thing over and over and over again. Oh, Alex is going to show the curtain. What is the purpose of that curtain? You put that up, so you need
Sound deadening.
sound deadening. Okay, so yeah, there's just this big black curtain. What would normally be like Ken's desk and stuff is over there, but no, there's just a big curtain in the way. Yeah. Really don't know that sound deadening actually did anything. I don't know.
Well, we had the mines running then. I have no headroom now.
That's true.
Yeah, we had the mine
We had
rigs,
computers mining in the back room that's on, you know, further down.
and we also had the shotgun mic experiment, which is an absolute failure.
Yeah.
But yeah, those mics pick up everything in here.
Yeah. These are good. The Hall mics are great at
Oh yeah.
rejection.
Oh, they're just sensitive. I mean, if you take the gates off,
Yeah.
you hear the crickets.
That's true. Yeah, there are. Pay no attention to the test bench behind the curtain. Yes, exactly. How much money did we make mining? I mean, we didn't go crazy. We just set up like, I think like
We
5 or
had-
6 machines or something.
Yeah, it was 5x6, I think. 5 machines, about 6 cards pop.
We didn't have 6 cards in every machine.
Not
There was like 4. It does weird stuff past 4. I don't think we had more than 4 GPUs in each box.
You sure?
Yeah.
Hmm.
The AMD ones had more, but like
Oh, because
we were just using straight nice hash and like the NVIDIA driver and like EVGA. What's the overclock utility for EVGA, which only handles 4 GPUs?
no idea.
That's part of the reason for the limit at the time, but I don't know. We basically just took, you know, some of the higher end cards that we had that we knew we had like extras of. So if we did break one, we weren't screwing ourselves for being able to test things that we needed to test. And we just ran them. And we only ran them for like maybe 2 or 3 months. It was just like when it was crazy. Like when it was, you know, when you were making 20 times the power cost back or something. And we did it in a back room where it wasn't really that, you know, annoying. But then once it started tapering off, or once it started, you know, profitability started going down, we were just like, yeah, this is just more trouble than it's worth. So we took it all apart. But I mean, you know, I would say it probably, it helped. You know, maybe over those 3 months, it might have been like 1 month worth of a Patreon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it wasn't.
it brought in some money.
We didn't have like, you know, we weren't like a full crazy mining operation or anything like that. Should you buy a cheap 1080 or wait for a 2070? Do you want it now or do you want it later? There's your answer.
Yeah. Same price point. 1080 for $300.
Yeah, it's basically the same price point, and outside of the whole, you know, ray tracing thing, the performance is probably going to be very similar too.
We were talking before the podcast. I have an associate of mine who's decommissioning his Bitcoin mine.
Yep.
He's moving to ASICs. Imagine that.
He's moving to ASICs now?
Uh-huh. Well, he already had 6 of them, and he's just moving the rest of the rack over. So he had a pile of 1080s, and I'm seriously
He's just selling
considering,
1080s.
you know,
Yeah.
if you can get an EVGA with 2 years left on the warranty for $6 for 2 of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Don't be afraid of like, even if you know someone's selling off like mining cards, as long as they're ones that have a 3-year warranty, like
Mhm.
you're good.
What was the
You know.
EVGA suffixes? KR and
It's
some
the
other
one.
ones?
If you look on the EVGA warranty page, they tell you like which part number specifically. Like there's a KR or a K something in the part number. Those are like the better ones. Usually if it's like a ACX cooler or better on an EVGA GPU, the chances are it has a 3-year warranty. There's some that are like brown box versions that have 1-year warranties, even if they are an ACX cooler, but you'll know because the part number has a different suffix in it. So just find out the full part number of whatever you're looking at, and then, look it up. And if it's, if it's like not Pascal, what's the 1080 series GPU architecture?
Volta?
No, it's Pascal. It's Pascal, I think. Anyway, if it's the 10 series card, you know that, chances are it's going to be recent.
Mm-hmm. Within the past 2.5 years?
Yeah. And if it's anybody that bought all their GPUs when the mining thing started going crazy, then that was like about a year ago. So you're probably going to have a couple of years left on the warranty. So, anything goes wrong, you're relatively safe. Oh, Pascal, yeah. I don't think a single GPU that we had mining, I don't think we had a hiccup with any of them. Like, I don't think any of them popped.
No, they've all been abused and abused before we threw them in the mine.
Well, that too, yeah. I was doing some mining. I had a couple fail EVGA ones, so I just did the RMA with them. I think honestly that was like a batch issue, because like the cards that failed were like within 20 of like the serial numbers. And it was the same kind of failure on both, like whatever, there's some one part on the back. You could tell there was a burnt spot on the back, and it was the same on both boards. So it just seemed to like be a bad batch of one of the power handling components on the back of the card. But I mean, in my experience, like, if it's gonna go, it went, and it's not working, right? Yeah. So if it's working, then you're probably good. And then if it's not working, even shortly after you get it, like, it's still got the warranty. So just use it. And the ones I sent off to EVGA, like, they sent me back, they were shrink wrapped new in box. Like, they basically just took them off the shelf from the looks of it and just sent me back new ones.
I mean, you're doing RMAs. They check it.
Well,
they
sometimes you'll get
it out the door.
Sometimes you'll get a brown box with a new different label stuck on to match the rate, like the 3-year warranty KR suffix or whatever, right? Sometimes they'll do that, but in my case, like, not to say it's for everybody, but either way, they'll make you whole, and you'll get a card that will have the rest of the warranty still good. So, the eBay 1080 prices do not impress. Is that because they're basically just going, are they like basically MSRP or basically retail prices probably on eBay? I haven't looked in a while.
Yeah, I haven't looked either.
Somehow there's still enough demand, I think, even from miners, that's keeping the price kind of high, but the profitability is like not there. Like, yes, it does make money, but like the return, like, if you have, I did the math like a week ago, and I don't think it's really changed that much since, but if you, like, the GPU would now take like 2 years to pay itself off.
Mm-hmm.
Once you subtract out like reasonable electricity costs, like 10 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah. I mean, we do live next to 3 big coal power plants.
Yeah, our power is more like 8. I think it's more like 8 cents per kilowatt hour, but like 10 is like the typical average number. Mm-hmm. Accounting for all that, the ROI was like, it was easily over a year. It was like 1.5 years or 2 years or something like that. But the thing is, it's obviously on a downward trend. So 2 years from now, it's not going to be a 2-year ROI anymore, because like a year ago, it wasn't, 600 days long. It was 60 days.
Oh,
right.
I've known many people who, like, they would pick up 8 cards at a time and turn them around in 3 months.
Yeah.
With money in their pocket.
Yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing back then. But, I don't know.
No. Missed that train. Oh, well.
Yeah, and it's still a thing, like, as long as you have your PC and, like, you're not going crazy and having a whole bunch of them, but if you just took, like, your GPU, like, in your PC that has reasonable cooling, just, you could run the miner and just have it only pick up when the system's idle. Especially if you're working and, machine's just sitting there at home most of the time. It'll make back more money than it costs for power. So it's just making some money. It's you go out to dinner, nice dinner once a month, basically, off of a GPU, off of a decent GPU.
Yeah,
Right?
I gotta listen to the damn thing whine.
Well, that's if you, I mean, like, I have a 1080 Ti, but it's like an FTW3. It's like a triple fan.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't really whine. You hear a little bit of air coming off of it, but that's a pretty stout core on that one.
Well, Jeremy was saying earlier he just replaced his 8800K. Like, that was the chip I had before I got my 2600K.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hard pressed to see a reason to upgrade.
Yep.
Modern computing, I love how everyone likes to give Intel shit, but there's physics.
That Inland SSD is 120 gig for $30.
Really?
Hold on. 120 gig for $20 on eBay? Oh, plus $10 shipping. So still $30. I might have to just order one of those and test it. Just for funsies.
Which one is this?
Inland Professional, what controller's on this SSD? Who said that in the chat? Someone asked about it.
He was asking the entire podcast.
There's a 240 gig, $43.
Oh.
I wonder what that controller is. 3-year limited warranty.
I mean, for that price point, you might as well just get 2 of them and raid one of them and call it good.
That's true.
Bring the eye back and raid.
The inexpensive eye,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the independent eye.
Retconning.
I think I just got an email from the person who... Is that an email that I got?
I don't know. Is it an email?
I don't know.
You tell me.
I saw the notification come up. Oh, mailbag question. Gotcha.
Huh. Jeez. How much is the 450?
Oh, they make a 450 also?
Or 480? Oh. This wow, this table's wrong. If I'm reading it right, it's $75 for 480 gig.
It's not a bad price.
No, it's not. Yeah, it looks like that 120 gig is kind of gimped.
Is IT a good career path? Alex.
Sure, if you want your soul crushed.
There you go. There's your answer.
Well, I mean,
Alex does remote work at the office here. What was it, Thursdays?
yeah, Thursdays I do because I'm on
Thursdays.
pager duty.
Thursdays he sits right over there
Over there.
at what used to be the PC for Plays set.
We should do one of those.
Yeah,
again.
we should do one of those again.
We just ran out of
Um,
games and it just stops.
Ran out of
stopped
games
happening.
and partially ran out of time. A bunch of people were doing travel and it just kind of threw off the mojo. But
yeah.
he sits over there, and the poor soul is crushed for a period of hours.
4 hours
For
straight.
4
just
hours
ding.
every Thursday
Next ticket. Ding.
as he
Next ticket,
remotely
ding.
deals with trouble tickets. We get to feel his pain.
It's it's tech support, but it's tech support. The good customers are great. Bad customers are, well,
480 is $71 shipped.
that's
I could do a full capacity roundup of those SSDs for less than $200 out of pocket.
I know, right?
Might be less than $150 out of pocket. I'll just order one of each just to do.
Yeah.
When they're cheap
So-
enough that you don't even necessarily need to ask the company to sample them to you. Just like, I'll just pick some
Just
up.
pick them up. And this is one of those cases where if it's that cheap, you should be considering RAID 1 and not RAID 0.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean,
It might not be crap. It's just
shit happens.
the quality control testing is not going to be that thorough on a company that can afford to sell SSDs that cheaply.
Well, here, plucking from the IT history work when I was wearing my sysadmin hat, you get enough hard drives and storage block devices running, failure just becomes rote.
It's just a it's just a percentage.
Yep. Which 2 drives are I'm going to have to replace this week?
Yeah.
I mean, that was my life for 6-7 months. It was just re-racking hard drives and re-puppeting and re-pixieing.
I built like that huge rack of crap for the Navy before I left Norfolk. That was when the highest capacity for sale was 2 terabytes at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I built them 192 terabyte. I think it was 192. It was 2 9U racks that held 48 drives each. And they were all 2 terabytes. And so I think that works out to 192. And I mean, you get 96 freaking hard drives all in a rack. If the failure rate over a year is only, like 1% or 2%, like that's several hard drives. And it was funny because like somebody like started to complain about it, like, oh, this thing's not reliable. It's like, no, actually, statistically, it's doing pretty good. And that's why those racks are like mirroring each other and each one is RAID 6. So it was like crazy level of redundancy because we didn't actually need 192 terabytes.
And how long ago was this?
Oh, this was like when 2 terabyte drives were like when the RE4 GP
Okay.
was out. The green version of the enterprise drives, like when that started to be a thing, right? So it was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, RAID 6 became the big hot shit. What? 2005, maybe, when they had the big white paper came out?
Do I torture test the drive before putting it into a RAID? That's a good question. I torture test all the drives at the same time in the RAID. Which is simple, especially if you have like an Eureka RAID card or any of the more advanced like enterprise-y kind of RAID cards, because you can create the array, it'll initialize it, and if you're not, if you have patience and you don't need to do anything with it right away, you just let it initialize all the way, which takes like a few days depending on how big the array is, right? And then the better RAID cards will have a consistency check feature. which does the exact same thing as initializing, except the other way around. It reads everything and checks the parity and makes sure that everything that's there, everything that it wrote during the initialization, comes back correct. And then that will take about the same amount of time that it took to initialize the array, so another couple days. But you could do that as many times as you want. Most of the good cards, you can manually initiate that. So as soon as it's done and it says no errors, you can do it again. And it'll read every hard drive front to back again, as many times as you want. My arrays at the house I have configured, not only are they RAID 6 usually, but they're also configured to automatically do that check every 2 weeks. And I'll usually check the log every month or two just to make sure that the errors reported back were 0.
Yeah, so your scrub result's 0.
Yeah. And when it does run into errors in the log, it'll actually put log entries and say which drive was the one that was out of sync with the rest of the array, which one was throwing the error, which in my opinion is even better than smart data, because in those cases, the smart data wasn't even, I've had drives that were just giving bad data out of nowhere, and they were somehow passing ECC. Like they weren't failing. It wasn't like a read error. It was just wrong data.
I've seen that. Like it's sometimes you'll get warnings. Like most times you'll get warnings. Like your uncorrectable read errors start creeping up. And it's nice when you can actually put this into a monitoring system and be alerted for trend analysis. Because that, oh man, so much easier sleeping at night. But yeah, like 1 in 10 drives that failed on me would out of the blue. No warnings, no smart degradation, no speed degradation. Like you could tell one of the drives was starting to go out by the request latency on the webhead.
Yeah,
like, it would increase 10%, and then within a week the drive would be dead.
Well, in my case, I'm not like recording latency and crap like that, but I just, I'm always like beating the crap out of the array if you think about it, because every 2 weeks I'm reading it, for a couple of days out of every 2 weeks, that thing is reading. When it's idle, it's reading everything front to back and making sure that it's still readable. Anyway. And also still have 2 of everything. Damn it.
3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Yeah. You need at least 2 of everything. Preferably with a 3rd off-site of your really, really important crap, because most people aren't going to have a copy of all of their crap off-site. But how has SSD impacted those array setups? Well, I'm not making RAID 6s of SSDs.
How deep down that rabbit hole do you want to go?
Yeah, no. I mean, I usually do RAID 5 if I have a triple M.2 RAID on my home system. Actually, the same triple M.2 capable motherboard that I did that like review on a year or 2 ago with the triple M.2 RAID. And I'll usually do RAID 5 with that, just so I can sustain one drive failure and it not like blow me out of the water. Granted, I still do backups and all that other stuff, but I just, if you have a good backup regime, then going to RAID 5 is just like convenience for when a drive fails. At least, if I'm in the middle of writing an article and my backup hadn't run in the past, day yet, and I'm halfway through, several hours worth of work, I don't want an SSD failure to like knock me on my ass and I have to start over. So, did I hear Drobo was bought out? I did not. Who bought Drobo? I mean, it was, well, wait a minute. Are you talking about like the transporter guys, the connected data /Drobo /merger /acquisition /whatever the hell you want to call it? Like that was a while ago. I don't know if they got bought out again. Beyond RAID is just block level RAID. In other words, it's a RAID that can work with a bunch of different sized disks. Which gives you a little bit more flexibility than regular RAID. And it reduces your rebuild times because it only has to rebuild the blocks that were used. It doesn't have to rebuild everything front to back. Do I have many SSD failures? Not usually. What was the last SSD that failed on me?
Wasn't it one of those Samsungs?
The 840s that slowed down? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know if that was a failure or that was
No, they
just
didn't fail. They just slowed down, and then the firmware fixed it.
Oh, okay.
Oh shit. You want the URL to my SSD chart? Which SSD chart? The performance chart? Or the SSD decoder, which is years out of date. I hope that's not what you're asking for. You said yes, but I said two
A
things.
or B? Yes.
Damn it.
People pull that shit on me all the time. Drives me out the wall. It's like, hey, should I do this or this? Yes.
Probably the performance. If you're looking for the performance numbers, go on the site, go to reviews and then storage. The storage is on like the text version of the tabs that's underneath the big tabs. And just look at the reviews, and if it's not the most recent review, it's probably the one before that. I kind of do it in every other review. I'll include on the pages with the charts, I'll also include the big ass version of the chart in there. But I don't do it every time because it's kind of a pain in the ass to include that, and it makes the pages of the reviews like I mean, there's like 150 SSDs on those charts.
Let
So
me just take this monitor and rotate
yeah,
it.
basically you rotate the monitor and then you're still scrolling a couple of pages. Like it's just, it's out of hand.
You've gone too far. Well, and there's been talks about revamping that whole thing a couple times, but we never really came to a conclusion
Yeah,
on it.
I mean, I kind of want to make it like a dynamic, like ideally it would be a dynamic thing where we could just, we're trying to figure out how to make it so that you can plug whatever you want into it and get what you want, but we want to do it in such a way, like my own personal limit is that it has to be in a way where somebody can't just come along and scrape all the database data from the site and like steal all the results. And then the entire thing shows up on some Japanese site somewhere, But, yeah, the SSD decoder. Those were the days. And then SandForce broke me with the SSD decoder, and I finally gave up trying to even keep up. And then that's when the SSD decoder died. Probably I could revive it now with currently shipping things, and it would be a reasonable length and not overwhelming.
There's a good question. Anything concerning you in tech nowadays? What's your view on data, privacy, analytics, and advertising?
I think the biggest thing that worries me about tech these days is the ability to put so much bullshit on all forms of social media and have people that are not willing to do their own research believe it blindly. And I'm not just saying that about politics. I'm saying that about literally everything. Like,
Yeah, these people listen to us. What are they thinking?
yeah, that too. Well, the thing is, it's considered a source thing, right? Oh, so if you want to know what the SSD decoder is, go, and this link still works, go to pcpro.com/SSD.
Wow. Oh, with a manual change log.
Yeah. This is how
Nice.
this is how unwieldy this fucking thing was. I had to do. Now I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh
Wow,
shit!
and you called it a light box too. Nice.
It works. It actually works. SandForce 2281. Look at all these Oh, notice that 480 was like big
Yeah.
for an SSD. And then there was why did I divide this table here? Oh, Micron C300 controller, Marvell controller, Toshiba controller, Intel controller, X25M. No trim.
I'm still using an X25M.
Hey, nothing wrong with an X25M, man. The amount of time and care that went into this damn thing. Now, I don't know if these links are going to work. Let's see. Nope. I wonder. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Something's broke on the website. How do you do back in Chrome now? Shift
No.
backspace, control backspace.
Oh, that's just the URL escaping issue. It's converting the question mark to a %3.
Oh, well, maybe that's the issue. But the code hasn't changed in that chart, so I don't know. No, there's something broken about the old article ID style that was mapped to the new URL style, and like there was a table somewhere on the server that did that cross-reference, and
Right.
I think the table broke at some point, so we have to fix that. Anyway, but yeah, I had like literally every controller, the reviews for the controllers. These are all the company links. These are the links to all the products. This link probably doesn't work. Look at that. That link still works. This product is discontinued.
See available support options. None.
Alt arrow. Thank you. There we go. Second generation controller, third generation controller, SandForce. Yeah, you thought my performance tables were long. Indie links. Look at that crap. Look at how many OCZ SSDs that Indie Links controller went into.
How many generations of controllers have happened since then?
1 terabyte was white because it was so hot. And I ran out of colors. And look at how much SLC is in here.
You have 32 bits of color data and you ran out of colors?
Yeah, I know. Look at how much SLC. This is crazy. There's not a single TLC SSD on this whole chart, by the way. Not a single one. Oh, I ran out. I finally hit the bottom. Yes. And I put model numbers on every single freaking entry. My God.
Nostalgia Road.
Yep. Even the firmware version that they introduced trim. But this link doesn't work. Oh. This is the firmware update tool. It did work.
Dude, you're missing on these whole failures here. This won't work. Yeah, it works. This won't work. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, well, I thought that was a link to my review of the trim-enabled firmware, which it might have been. That other link might be.
On Intel's site?
Well, there's a yes here. Oh, nope. O2HD? No, they both go to the same place. Anyway, how did I not go insane?
You're assuming that he didn't.
Oh. This was, I was working, my day job was the watch floor. So talk about IT jobs from hell. My day job was I was the person in charge of the watch floor of Navy Cyber Defense Operation Command. You want to talk about IT. We had a 27-foot diagonal video wall.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah. Super Bowl was fun. We would totally have the Super Bowl up on the damn video wall when we were, you know. And there was probably like, I don't know, like 18 or so seats ahead of me. And I wasn't like this sort of holier than thou throne style desk like in the middle of the room.
A hot seat.
And but the thing was, like, most of the time I was standing like a mid-watch or just some off-shift watch. There was literally nothing going on. When the most excitement on the whole watch was I had to send a message bitching out some command because somebody was playing WoW. Like on a carrier. Right?
Latency. How?
Yeah, right.
How?
There is that. But so like I almost had it memorized, like the packet that's like the initialization / like login acknowledgement from WoW. We had on the Navy sensors, like we had it as a trip.
Mhm.
So we knew like exactly. It's all you had to do was, you know, and the commands were supposed to be blocking the servers anyway. So if we saw it, A, somebody was playing WoW. B, their IT guys weren't blocking what they were supposed to be blocking at their own firewall, right? But Like that was the most interesting thing happening on a watch or whatever. What would I be doing sitting at my desk? Entering things into the SSD decoder. All of your tax dollars at work.
I got
Time
nothing.
spent on the SSD decoder.
I had nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do when, you have nothing better to do. Sometimes it was exciting. Sometimes I got to virtually unplug computers or entire ships from the Navy network.
You out of the pool.
Yeah, basically. You got how many machines infected? At once? Bye. And then there was that lovely time that we decided to block, what was the insanity? Remember all the browser toolbar insanity?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Internet Explorer browser toolbars you can add on and whatever.
Mhm.
And you'd have people like this funny screenshots of somebody that added every single one, and the thing was, just
Oh, yeah.
like
Here-
8 layers
here's the
deep or
title
whatever.
bars, and then there's the browser.
Yeah. Somebody pitched to like one of the higher ups, and they were like, hey, there's these browser toolbar things, and like some of these are like adware, and they're reporting like activity back to whoever the company is, and we don't
Mhm.
want people on browsing Navy sites with reporting their URLs, possibly intranet URLs, getting reported back out to these companies, right? And so it was kind of like a safety thing. And we put out like a memo, and every time we put out a memo about it, you'd have like some high-ranking people on some ships would bitch because they want to use their toolbar or whatever. And we'd get pushed back, and they would finally, we'd drop it for the moment, or
What do you mean I can't install Bonsai Buddy?
Yeah, exactly. We were getting admirals saying they wanted to install Bonsai Buddy on their fucking browser, right? So there'd be pushback, and we'd give it up. And then finally one day, we're just like, that's it. We're not putting this in as an IDS signature. We're putting it in as an IPS signature based on the user agent string of like, we keyworded every single one of those freaking things. And of course, each one of those adds their own tag to the user agent string, right?
Mhm.
And we made it a blocking signature. So it was as if thousands of computers cried out and were suddenly silenced because none of those browsers could reach another site because we were blocking the packet with the user agent string in it, which was also the URL, right? Because it was that was part of it. Right? Yeah. So an awful lot of IT folks on an awful lot of carriers and chips and whatever, and surface commands, even just like shore duty and whatever, like suddenly they had to clean their networks like right then. Any computer that had any of those plugins could not talk to internet, basically, could not browse. So that was lovely. That was a nice like a week worth of,
We have some macros set up on our ticket system to reject tickets for not being submitted properly, and I get immense joy out of using them every time. Just like no.
Just
No.
think about that. What
No.
that must be like now. Actually, since that shit's locked down now, like anything odd like that, and the Navy in particular just blocks that shit like immediately. The problem with the browser plugin thing was that I think they let it get out of hand for too long, right?
Oh yeah, Biohazard brings up stuff about the what was it, the squad that got their location leaked because someone had their Google Fit data synced to the cloud.
That is true. Yeah. But I don't think that was like, I don't think that was necessarily like some sort of misconfiguration on the Navy network's part, because some of these people are even using their own personal accounts. Like they have their own personal like cell service, and that's where their data is going. So it didn't even necessarily go via a Navy network for that information to get out, right? But that's true. You know, it's when you're trying to do operational security, like you have to take some of that other stuff seriously as well.
Nope.
Yeah, it is very limiting. The unclassified network on like Department of Defense stuff, like military stuff, it isn't that bad. Like you can get stuff done usually. But yeah, I mean, when you go to like the whole secret and top secret stuff, like those are basically closed off networks that, you know, zero internet connectivity. They're using the internet, but it's all crazy crypto and making its own like intranet over the internet.
Sex, drugs, and minerals management.
Oh, by the way, so this whole security clearance thing, right?
Yeah.
This whole discussion that's going on about the security clearance thing, I just don't get it.
Oh,
Like there are people actually complaining that people get to retain their security clearance after they're not doing a job, right? Like,
Those people have not gone through the process of getting a security clearance.
well, there is that, but there's also like, let's see, how many years has it been since I retired? I might technically still have a security clearance. I'm probably right on the line because they're good for like 5 years.
Yep.
And I think I renewed mine like sometime pretty close to when I retired from the Navy. Actually, no, it's been more than 5 years now, I think. Anyway, so I had one for like, because they last like 5 years usually before you have to redo them. But but people were like even going as far as like, why is the government paying for this or whatever? It's like, well, no, like if you retire normally and you go and you work for some other like, you know, contractor or whatever that you need a clearance for, yes, the person benefits financially slightly in that they came there with a security clearance, but then that company has to cover the renewals. Or the individual has to cover the renewals themselves and has to pay like a few grand like every 5 years or something like that. Right. Is what it costs. But if you let it lapse and then you want to restart it, it's like you have to restart the whole process and they have to like re-background investigate everything. And they have to try to cover a gap, which is potentially even more like, it's less safe because now you had, you know, say they didn't have their clearance for like 10 years. Now you're trying to cover a 10-year gap. Whereas if you kept it going, at least you had someone checking every so often, right? And if there was something fishy, it didn't kind of dissipate into the ether, you know, 5 years ago or whatever, right? So honestly, it's like in the government's best interest to keep these like high-ranking people. You want to keep their clearance going because A, they're high-ranking. They were high-ranking people. They might be retired now, but it's not like they're going and selling crack or something, right? So chances are, updating a clearance and keeping it active for somebody like that's that high is probably like not much work at all. First of all, and second of all, they want to keep those people available. Like if the government needs to consult with them about something, like, hey, remember that operation we did 15 years back that you were in charge of? Like, we need some more information about that. Do you remember anything else? As opposed to, if they don't have their clearance, like you can't even technically ask them that question. Because they're not supposed to even hear or speak the name of the operation, you know, unless they have the clearance. So it's kind of like, it's just silly.
I had my neighbor was doing stuff with DOE as well. And this was probably 3 years after we built our house. And it was in the middle of December. And this black sedan rolls up in my front yard. And this lady in a trench coat gets out, knocks on my door, and has a badge. And this is like on a Tuesday morning at 8:30 in the morning, and it's below freezing. So what do you do when a federal agent rolls up on your doorstep? You don't invite them inside. You talk to them on the doorstep.
Hold on, who's giving the signing bonus of 20K for cleared people? Rigel from the chat. I guess there's some contractor that does that probably. It might be because if you come there with the clearance, or if you came there without the clearance and the company wanted you, they're probably spending that 20K to get your clearance expedited so that you could start working for them. Like,
I had
it's money either way that has to get spent on you. Either,
I had an opportunity to go and become cleared for consulting work with another ISV out in California, and it would have been a 40K increase in salary.
Do I know anyone who was arrested for high treason? Well, there was that kid that took cell phone pictures of the engine room of a submarine.
What was he arrested
Although
for
Trump
treason?
pardoned him. I'm pretty sure he pardoned him. I don't know if it was treason, but it was like, it was some ridiculous level charge, especially given that it was like a really shitty cell phone and you couldn't even really make out details in the pictures.
Yeah, but it still happened.
Yes, it did happen. Yes, he wasn't supposed to do it. But I think the other part of it was like, he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't like trying to sell the pictures to the Russians or like, like I don't think he was trying to do anything nefarious with them. Yes, he shouldn't have taken them and he shouldn't have had them, obviously. But
yeah, I don't know if that would be considered treason, but there's probably a term for it that I'm not aware of.
yeah, and that whole thing with Hillary, that email server thing was fucked. Like, Eileen left, but no. Like, that's freaking ridiculous to have like coming from the group that I worked with all the time. Like, if I wanted my own freaking personal email server at my house, no, like that's not how that works. You just don't get to have a classified email server of your own just at your house. It doesn't matter who's guarding it.
Well, it's this whole, what is it, segregation of duties?
Well, not only that, but like, so there would be like, it is possible to get a secure thing, like terminal, at a person's home, right? So like high ranking, like admirals and stuff in the Navy, if they have a need after hours to have access to something, they might have like, but it's done properly and there's like a setup. But the thing is, they're only remoting in, right? They don't have a local copy of all the shit. It's just, they just have remote access to be able to check email, but the email's on the server on the secure base, right? It's not, Yeah, that's just treason via Instagram. Oh, man.
All right, it's 40 past midnight.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Yep. Did it for the gram.
Yeah, and then deleting freaking emails, that's idiotic too. Because, like, once you get subpoenaed for shit, you're not supposed to get rid of.
Yeah. Well, generally anything that's, applicable to freedom of information requests, you shouldn't be deleting in the first place.
Yeah. And honestly, you shouldn't be putting, like, I think the argument was that it was personal shit. It wasn't like.
Doesn't matter.
Wasn't like business related or whatever, but that's bullshit. Then he shouldn't have been on the server in the first place.
Yeah, it's sort of like inserting child porn into the blockchain. Can't roll that back.
Wait, what?
Oh, you haven't heard about this?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Oh,
that's a thing that happened?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know if it was it wasn't Bitcoin. It was one of the altcoins.
Somebody inserted a child porn image?
What's the one with all the ad hoc contract stuff? Ethereum.
Lovely.
Yeah. Someone posted a contract in there and embedded, base64 encoded kitty porn. And it's there. It's there.
Yeah,
Can't get rid of it.
That's ridiculous, man. I have to set my alarm for 5:45 to make sure my wife is awake. So I will do that. Anyway, yeah, we got a jet, guys.
Yep, gotta be back here at 8 o'clock in the morning. Woo!
We only get to have this after show fun for extended periods when Ryan's not here, because he's usually like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Peace.
But anyway, see ya.
Y'all have a good one.